Continuing our exciting journey through the world of From Software Soulsborne series, today we are beginning what's probably going to be a pretty hefty series of streams focusing on the final entry in the proper Dark Souls canon, Dark Souls 3. A game that I generally really love, but have some serious issues with the presentation and design of. Now don't, get confused. This is probably, without question, home to some of the best visual design due to the fact that, like Bloodborne, it was designed for... Hold on one second, I'm going to change the audio balance. Turn that down just a little. Designed for current-gen hardware, but also it's home to what I find is genuinely the best boss design of the entire series from a mechanical perspective. There's loads of cool weapons and armor and things like that to acquire, but the game's, kind of creative design, from the aesthetics of its visuals to its cast of characters, even to the mechanics present in regards to things like magic and covenants, rely so heavily on blatant fan service call-outs to the first game that it feels like this is kind of a mishmash of ideas from Souls 1 and Bloodborne that doesn't really properly feel like an iteration on Dark Souls 2 in the same way that Dark Souls 2 did upon Dark Souls 1. So let's just keep that in mind as we dive into a brand new game and establish some lore for this land, the land of Lothric. It's totally not Lordran, this is Lothric. Totally different thing.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge.
The visuals of this intro are absolutely staggering.
The pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades.
That's our setting, the Kingdom of Lothric. Let me make sure this is all.
Without thrones.
Yeah, okay, the audio balance should be fine. But yeah, we got some very grim imagery to start us off here. Those guys are really important to the plot as it happens.
The link of fire is threatened. The bell tolls. Unearthing the old Lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich.
And just like the first game, we're introduced to, the major bosses we'll be going after right at the beginning, and this is my favorite of the main lot. Or the ones we're introduced to here, anyway.
Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers.
All just striking visuals. This is compelling. This is a great intro. It really is.
And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the giant.
And this guy, despite the way he may look, is of course, because this is Dark Souls 3, and in Dark Souls 3 everything is just like it was in Dark Souls 1. He's a Dark Souls 1 giant, despite looking like a Dark Souls 2 giant, with kind of that gaping hole where the head or the face or features should be.
And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is.
Yep, that's us being dragged out.
Seeketh embers.
So, really good intro, right? I think so. Can't tell you guys how great it is to be back here with you, because, yeah, the first couple days of school, man, they've been really, school and work, really demanding, having to do everything remote, you know? Hold on, I'm going to turn the audio balance back up, because now it felt just a little quiet. Okay, we should be good. Alright, and so just as before, we are thrown straight back into character creation, as you can see. The arms and armor in this game with the enhanced graphical fidelity. I'm not typically a guy to just go on and on about graphics, but it looks really clean. I dig that. We will go ahead and give this guy a great name, I think. All of this is just stuff you can, like, modify if you want. Doesn't really matter. We'll go down to build an appearance just to customize this, as always. I tend to like my characters just a little bit on the lanky side, because I think it makes some of the lighter armor with flowing robes and things like that look just a little bit cooler. We don't want to go just, like, all skin and bones, but, let's see. Voice, what do we want? Okay, that's fine. Physique, musculature, not muscular, yeah, that's fine. Body hair, nah. Build detail, do we want, no, that's fine. Base skin color, do they have, like, just a cream pale? You can make it like anything you want, like people obviously all the time make like pink and like bright aquamarine looking characters, some of which look really cool. Let's see. I don't get much sun, so yeah, that looks about right. Pallid. Face features, all that's fine. Hair, here's the big one. They do give you plenty of options this time around, and let's see what we want. Could go pigtails if we wanted. I don't think so, though. I don't hate a whole lot of these, to be honest. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah? I mean, we could go for like a Beatles-looking thing, a bowl cut, or... Yeah, that's alright. We can get like our Professor Snape on. Hair color, we'll just go pitch black. Brows, something maybe a little kinder looking, little thin, yeah. Yeah, there we go, that'll do. Okay, pupils. We can go for like standard with different sizes, I think like sort of milky cataract covered eyes, or just like pitch black. Let's see. How do we want to do this? I'm thinking, maybe one of these could be just totally clouded over, and the other one could be some kind of crazy color, like... Yeah, like a gold or something. Why not? Why not? It's not like we're going to be seeing much of this character, to be honest. He's going to be wearing a mask or armor nearly all the time, though credit where it's due, FromSoft did manage like their best character creator to date yet, because a lot of these human character models we see, both that we could create ourselves or that are present throughout the game, actually look really nice. In a way that the kind of awkward looking folks from, say, Dark Souls 2 and 1, and even to a certain extent in Bloodborne did. So we'll go ahead and keep all that. Face presets, anything else? Oh yeah, no, we want to do this. This will, like, give us, some, information on the world as well if we work our way through these. This will give us an idea as to some of the countries we'll be hearing about, or even seeing in some cases. So Northern Warrior, the face of a warrior as if hewn from rock. It's been long whispered in jest, Northerners are born, weathered and old. Astora makes a return. You know, Andre, the blacksmith from the first game, was from Astora. Pretty sure Solaire is as well. The features of a true blue blood. Blue of eye and fair of hair, a little reminder of Astora's former glory. Dragon Academy student, aligned with what used to be Venheim, I think. Intelligent face with fine lines, often ribbed for looking like apprentice. Kareem. So remember in the original game, folks associated with Kareem had like this pale white, almost deathly looking skin. Here, this is the face of a cheerless cleric of Kareem. Novice is used as something of a derogatory term for men at the cloth. Katarina, we can make ourselves one of the Onion Knights. The large eyes and mouth give this face a look of jubilation. From Katarina, known for its zest for life and love of drink. One of the things that's really cool about Katarina, where all of the Onion Knight people tend to be from, or are from, in the case of this universe, is relative to all these other countries you hear about that are besieged by foul beasts or tainted by the curse of undeath, or they're all going through some trial or tribulation. Most things are perfectly fine and happy in Katarina. Everybody's doing okay. That's why, like, Siegmeyer and Sieglinde, the two we met in Dark Souls, were so jolly. They come from a place where everything's much better. Serpentine Traveler. An uncommon face defined by its narrow eyes and thin lips. Some praise it as the visage of a true dragon. We never get much more context into that. The Great Swamp returns. Land of the Pyromancers. A uniquely deformed face, or perhaps purely ugly. Ooh. Prejudice births malcontent, and malcontent swarm to the Great Swamp. Londor is an interesting country that's introduced specifically for this game, and it's also probably my favorite, or one of my two favorite parts of the lore. We'll be dealing with Londor extensively, and if we go for the exact ending I'm hoping for, we'll ultimately be aligning ourselves with them. A lifeless face, almost out of a hollow. Londor is a realm of those hollow and old. The pilgrims, the people in the black robes with the shells chained to their back we saw in the intro, they are, like, religiously affiliated folks from Londor. And lastly, the one we'll be going with, Irithilian. The features of the old gods, as if from legend. They say children born like this are fated to be taken to the Boreal Valley. Irithil's a really cool place we'll get to learn more about. But first and foremost, we got two more things to take care of before we actually hop into the game, right? As always, we're going to pick a class and pick a gift. Going to start by choosing my burial gift. None of these are quite as impressive as, say, the Master Key was from the first game, or maybe some of the stuff you could start with in the second game, but some of these ain't half bad. You can start with the Life Ring again, that'll give you just a small boost to your max HP. I think it's somewhere between 5 and 10%. If that's your kind of thing, go for it, but it's easy to get a Life Ring or something even better pretty early on. You can start with a Divine Blessing consumable that's like a cure-all. Probably don't need this before you can find one in-game. We've got a Hidden Blessing that fully recovers FP, and I'm sure you're asking, whoa, what the hell is FP? FP is basically a mana system introduced for this game. Well, reintroduced. Something similar was present in Demon Souls. That instead of tying spell usages to an arbitrary amount per rest, you have a fixed amount of mana that you can spend on spells and also unique abilities that might be specific to certain weapons or styles. So totally non-magical stuff uses this as well. And you have a special Estus Flask that can be used to restore that FP as well. We can start with black fire bombs, as always, like the, for early game, really punchy little hand grenades. A fire gem that can be used to infuse weapons with flame energy, just like in Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. A sovereignless soul that is basically just a massive cache of souls. A rusted gold coin that increases item discovery for a short time, don't really need that. Cracked red eye orb, y'all know what that does. And the young white branch. Branch of a young white birch, perhaps an offering of peace, can be used to blend into your environment, a la the talismans from Dark Souls 2, but only once. We're going with the fire bombs because none of these are great, and the fire bombs can actually be really useful to us early on. So, class, what do we got? Let's just start, as always, with the Deprived. Naked and of unknown origin, either an unfathomable fool in life or stripped of possessions upon burial. Starts with pretty decent stats, very well-rounded stats anyway, and from level 1, allowing you to build that character however you like. Hey, MC, how's it going, man? Ain't been the same without a stream in a couple days. Glad you're here. Hope you're having a good day so far. We ain't going for this, don't worry. The Knight starts off with some of the coolest looking beginning armor in the entire series. Love the shine and sheen on that. An obscure knight of poor renown who collapsed roaming the land. Sturdy, owing to high vitality and stout armor. Yeah, so again, vitality, vigor, redoubtability are kind of the Knight's class's specialties. It's not actually dealing damage, it's taking it. The Mercenary is a bit more our speed. They also have some quite beautiful looking armor, starting with a wooden shield that doesn't do fantastically, but it'll do for early game, and a killer looking scimitar. A mercenary and veteran of the... Oh, I'm sorry, that's not a scimitar. Well, it is, I think, maybe? No. It's a unique weapon. Notice that there's a second one strapped to our belt. Mercenary and veteran of the battlefield, high dexterity allows masterful wielding of dual scimitars. Hell yes, this is probably what we're going for. You want to go just pure strength though, you want this like sort of vaguely Viking-ish looking warrior. Descendant of northern warriors famed for their brawn, utilizes high strength to wield a heavy battle axe. If you can get your hands on one of those axes, the strength requirement actually ain't that high, and with the moveset they've been given for Dark Souls 3 and some of the stats, man, a battle axe will do you well in the early game. Herald's a really interesting looking class, brought back from Demon Souls. They've got rock solid armor, they've got a nice shield that'll absorb, I believe, all physical damage but from the jump, a long spear, a former herald who journeyed to finish a quest undertaken, wields a sturdy spear, and employs a gentle restorative miracle. Right, so they also begin with like a light heal miracle that grants them essentially additional recovery every time they rest, or top off their FP. Pretty good, right? So the Thief, if you want like high dex and some solid stats across the board elsewhere, with good luck increasing your chances of discovering items, fittingly enough. A common thief and pitiful deserter wields a dagger intended for backstabs, hell yeah, alongside a military-issue bow. Interesting class, not one I've seen many people make a huge argument for, but looks cool enough. Again, everything in this game as far as weapons, armor, characters, everything looks gorgeous, beyond gorgeous. Assassin, an assassin who stalks their prey from the shadows, favors sorceries in addition to thrusting swords, right? So they start with the, I want to say, either disguise or suppress sound sorcery, and enough intelligence to use it properly. So high intelligence, high dex. Oh man, that's so tempting. Let's see, the Mercenary starts with 16 dex and 10 intelligence. Assassin, 11 intelligence, 14 dex. Okay, so the Mercenary's still going to be a better fit for us, because we're going for that kind of spell sorty thing again. The Sorcerer, who looks really, really bomb this time around, is a loner who left formal academia to pursue further research. Commands soul sorceries using high intelligence, and knows a light and heavy soul arrow spell from the start. Has a pretty sick looking weapon too, and I think a small leather shield. The Pyromancer comes back with their trusty hatchet, and probably the best looking Pyromancer armor we've seen in the series so far. A Pyromancer from a remote region who manipulates flame. Also an adept close combat warrior who wields a hand axe. And they've got like a little, I think it's a twin snake parma or something like that is what they call it in-game. It's okay. The Cleric, wearing simple blue robes with some sort of bundle on the back that looks like it might emulate the Londor Pilgrim shells, but doesn't serve a similar purpose. A traveling cleric who collapsed from exhaustion, channels high faith to cast many and varied miracles. Again, so if you want to go down the miracle path, you'll be good to go here. So we've got all three schools of sorcery represented, right? Standard sorceries, pyromancies, miracles, right? That's it. All three of them. Certainly no more types of magic in this series. That's it. It's really weird what they did. A lot of hexes still remain in the game, and there's a designated hex-type trainer, but hexes don't exist as an independent school of magic. Like, they walked it back purely for taxonomy's sake, which is kind of weird, I think. But, you know me, we're going to start off with the Mercenary, give us that dex build straight away, and a really interesting weapon that shows off a new system introduced for Dark Souls 3. So let's get started. In our quest to track down these Lords of Cinder. Because apparently, when the fire wanes, apparently this thing still hasn't gone out. Just people been making real shit decisions for generations now. As a contingency, a bunch of people who had linked the fire before are brought back to life and intended to throw themselves into the pyre as kindling again. Understandably, some of them might not want to do that, so our main quest in this game is to track down these errant lords and force them to come throw themselves onto the pyre. It's pretty nasty stuff. We do ultimately get a choice, of course. So we find ourselves, much like the bosses, awaking from a casket that appears to have just been left open in the Cemetery of Ash. This is a gorgeous starting zone. It's not terribly long, nor is it terribly difficult. But, like, look at these visuals, man. Just Dark Souls designed for current-gen hardware. I hate to just keep going on and on, but damn, the graphical fidelity is something. So we start with Sellsword Twin Blades. Yeah, 2 weapons as a single item. Paired scimitars used by certain sellswords. The scimitar's sharp blades make for effective slashing attacks, but fare poorly against metal armor and tough scale-covered hides. With a scimitar in each hand, the wielder can vary their onslaught with unique left-handed attacks when in the proper stance. And the skill, that's the special, like, item-specific doohickey that is, that will drain our FP. Think of it like a fighter's spell is a spinning slash, kind of similar to what we did with Rikuyo's transformed state in Bloodborne. We also start with a wooden shield, a vertically elongated wooden shield decorated with a white dragon. Wooden shields are light, manageable, and offer relatively high magic absorption. And our sellsword set. Metal armor interwoven with coarse cloth, able to endure the hardships of battle and prolonged travel. It's light considering the build, striking a fine balance between absorption and substance. So pretty good stuff, right? Now the first thing you may notice, if you were sitting next to me on the floor right now and I was to hand you the controller, is our character moves very fluidly and feels a lot faster and more mobile than they were prior to Bloodborne. This game took a whole lot of design elements, or a whole lot of lessons learned from Bloodborne and how satisfying its systems could feel, and adapted them to a Dark Souls formula, creating something that mechanically, at least I think, is really, really something special. Again, my problems with this game have nothing at all to do with the fundamental design or mechanics or anything like that. In those regards, I would argue unequivocally that it's the best in the entire series. However, there's a lot of design and world-building choices that feel so fan-servicey or so questionable that I take serious issue with them. None of them exist in the Cemetery of Ash, though. This is just a cool-ass area. You'll notice our attacks don't seem to drain a whole lot of our stamina. That's very good. And if we try to dual-wield this weapon, instead we will draw both blades. And just like power stancing, say, in Dark Souls 2, something that was removed, of course, because it was from Dark Souls 2, and we couldn't have any of that, you can press the left buttons, or left, it would be like shoulder button or trigger in this game, to unleash attacks with the paired weapons, which we probably don't want because these early enemies ain't too dangerous on their own. These hollows are called, I think, Grave Wardens, and, I mean, they're not just complete and total non-entities when it comes to threat, but MC says, so power stance, but not called that, and only for certain weapons, yes. Certain weapons that come in pairs. I think it's kind of arbitrary and petty, and it's something they should have kept power stancing in, but I think they should have kept a lot of things from Dark Souls 2 in that were not. Now, combat still feels more kinetic and fast-paced and responsive than it did in earlier entries, so that's a good lesson we learned from Bloodborne. Now, on the corpse of this guy, who looks suspiciously like Oscar, the guy that gave us our Estus Flask in the first game, right on down to the pose because Dark Souls 1, we get the recovery item for FP I talked about, the Ashen Estus Flask. Undead treasure these dull ashen flasks, fill with Estus at bonfires and drink to restore your FP. quite befitting of an unkindled. An ashen Estus flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. Now, something really interesting, and I think a brilliant decision on the dev's part, is that, like earlier entries in the series, like Dark Souls 2, we'll be finding shards of Estus flasks that can be used to extend our charges throughout the game world. That's a great idea. I loved that experience in the second game. But we can choose to allocate those charges to either the regular Estus flask or the Ashen Estus flask. So if, say, I've got 2 charges of my Ashen Estus flask, but I'm not really a, big mage build or anything like that yet, I can dump both of those charges over into my HP restoring flask instead. And if, later in the game, we become more adept at sorcery or hexes, well, not hexes, but hexes, we can reallocate those charges back into the Ashen Estus flask at any time by interacting with a certain NPC in our hub, which I think is really cool. So we got, a pittance of souls from those guys. Give me 1 second, folks. I'm having to reply to a message. I'm sorry. MC says, a bit jarring that they would add NP to this game. Not quite. It was present in Demon Souls and actually worked really well there. The idea is, instead of having to, buy multiple copies of certain spells or find them or something like that, if you want to just dump a bunch of stuff into your mana and, mana regeneration, a magic build will actually be way more viable in the early game. That's actually a good decision, I think. Almost done. I'm sorry. Almost there. MC says, so Dark Souls 3 is a best of everything except Dark Souls 2. Yes, fundamentally, yeah. And again, so, the way it plays, the way it feels, absolutely great. Hey, do you remember that attack that the Hollows from the first game had? It's totally fine, though. Because these guys, one thing I do appreciate about them is, unlike, say, the zombies from the first game, these guys come in several different variants, wielding different weapons and using different tactics, kind of like the undead soldiers from the Forest of Fallen Giants. I think it's really nice to introduce enemy variety within specific enemy types. Like, if I'm fighting humanoid enemies in a certain area, give them different armor or weapons that reflect, the culture or the military culture of that region. Oh, but something really cool. This is cool. Again, so many things I'm going to praise about this game. I'm only going to get angrier and angrier about the lore as we go on. You remember the crystal lizards? Those little glowing, skittish creatures that we could kill for Titanite? Well, they're still in this game, of course, but some of them have had time to grow. And grow. And grow. Hey, Exit, how's it going, man? So good to see you. We are not gonna fight that thing right now. Suffice to say, they drop a ton of really good Titanite and quite a few souls. But this build ain't really made for it. And Exit says, oh boy, here we go, and he's on a Dex build. Ugh. Hey, I like what I like. I am a pro-agility build advocate. I will say this, Dark Souls 2 in particular is a lot more fun running a Dex build. I've been watching a playthrough by somebody who went, pure strength and survivability, and yeah, you can tank your way through everything in that game. But now, check this out. We have an absolutely gorgeous little vista we've been brought onto. Oh no, Exit, no worries, man, I got you. MC says in Blades, agility is important. I'm looking forward to that, by the way. I'm going to need a bit more time to look over the materials, but I should be able to give you guys an idea of what class I'd like to run or something like that, or coordinate with you about that sometime soon-ish. I've just been so busy with school and work starting back. So, as it says, the Sellsword Twin Blades are really good. They are. They're one of the better starting weapons in this game, and incredibly fast. I would have liked a nicer shield, but we can get one in due time. Don't y'all worry. Hey, buddy, come on. That's the way. So we want to explore this little area not only so old Brady can refamiliarize himself with the feel of this game and avoid looking like a total idiot today, but also because there's going to be a few little odds and ends we can collect. These guys drop so few souls, even relative to, say, early game enemies in Dark Souls 1 and 2, that it's not really worth it just for their sake, but there is a lot of stuff around. Like here, oh, look at this, we've got a crossbowman and a spearman, wielding a shield that's stronger than it looks. As he says, yeah, we're slowly planning that and giving everyone time. That's great, thank you so much. I'll have plenty of questions, no doubt, so I appreciate you guys not only including me, but easing me into this. As I said, never done something like this before, like a tabletop game. If you would believe it, friends, our boss is right over there, through that arch. They waste no time in giving you your first major challenge. There we go. Oh, no, you don't. Always take care of your archers first, kids. Now we start off, or we pick up some fire bombs. These would be useful if we didn't already start off with a handful of black fire bombs that are going to be essential in taking down, well, what's on the other side of that gate. Hey, Seth, how's it going? Hope you've been well. Hope all y'all have been well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, as you'll see, there's an item on that casket over there. Actually, getting to this item is harder than it looks, in part because I am not super great at platforming in Souls games, and in part because platforming in Souls games is absolute trash. Now, let's try this, and there we go. We get some Titanite early on, that can be used to reinforce a weapon of our choice. It probably won't be the Sellsword Blades, but, who knows, we'll see. Always make sure no one is behind you anytime you enter into a new area in Dark Souls 3, because that's one design element of the second game that the devs definitely retained. They love ambushing you from behind. Okay, did we get everything? I mean, not just a whole lot to get here. They really want to throw you into this first fight, which I can respect. As I said at the very start of the stream, as much as I love and praise Dark Souls 2, like, probably to an annoying extent, this game has the best boss design in the entire franchise, Bloodborne included. Demon Souls may be the only entry that can match or exceed it. So we enter into this beautiful little courtyard, right? And there's something conspicuous here in the middle, but don't worry about that, we'll be getting right back to that, gentleman. We see another massive casket that's been cracked open, and apparently been here for some time, as a massive tree has grown over top of it. It's implied, perhaps, that that was this guy's resting place. Seth says, steal his sword, he won't notice. Oh yeah, no, so this is what we have to do here. We have to remove the sword from the massive halberdier's chest, because that's a good idea. You may notice a little something going on, like in his back. He might want to get that checked out, but it's fine. It's fine. All teasing aside, this is our first boss, the Ashen Judge, Udix Gundyr. And, like a standard humanoid enemy in Dark Souls, he can really give it to us. He's fast, really reactive, has excellent, coverage on, like, the horizontal axis. He ain't no joke. And he has two distinct phases. How do you like that? 1, 2... Oh, I'm gonna have to relearn all of this, ain't I? Now keep those fire bombs on hand for this, folks. He has an absolutely gorgeous boss fight theme. So the thing is, Gundyr has been sent to fulfill the same exact mission that we're about to be sent on. to attempt to rouse the Lords of Cinder and link the First Flame that Lord Gwyn was so enamored with that he decided to destroy several worlds over. Problem is, he was just a bit late, and in this case, he is unable to fulfill his mission due to corruption. Coming into contact with something he probably ought not have. And we'll see exactly what I mean by that in just a moment. First off, heal, thank you. Oh, sorry, Sunshine. Phase 2! Here comes that corruption I mentioned. We're going to want to burn this because he is now essentially a giant tar homunculus. Do not attempt to fight this thing head-on if you can. It's highly mobile and has excellent coverage, combining all of Gundar's attacks with special attacks made by the homunculus itself. The Pus of Man, it's referred to as. And goodbye. Exit says he's also pretty easy to parry. That's true, that's true. If you want to go that route, you can. I never learned his parry timing, so I really didn't want to cheese it. MC says, give the guy a break, he doesn't know how to hair. Oh, well, actually, there's something really interesting about that phase we'll get into in a moment. Seth says his legs are probably numb from kneeling for so long. And I think I got him on my second try by accident. That's still really impressive. As first bosses go in, like, this franchise, I'd say he's easily the hardest. Because that second phase, after he transforms into the Pus of Man, his telegraphs are so unusual, and the amount of coverage and range that so many of his moves receive, once he starts flailing around with, like, that living tarry homunculus on his shoulder, is quite insane. He doesn't deal a lot of damage, but most everything he does is liable to hit you if you don't know what you're in for. It's a hard fight, and MC says, oh no, Frampt is back. That'd be Koth, but don't worry, they're in this game too. Everything from the first game is in this one too. Zev says, the second phase made me poop my pants, and it's really hard to see what he's doing. It is. His telegraphs aren't great, and that's a lesson we need to learn early on. So, enemies of that type, anything that is associated with the Abyss, generally in this game, is going to be weak to fire. Exit says, wait, Frampt is in here? Depending on the actions you take throughout the game, well, you'll see. We'll see. Seth says, so Dark Souls 3 is basically, hey, remember Dark Souls 1? The game. Yeah, unfortunately so. That's my biggest gripe with it. It is a game that is beautiful in terms of its mechanical design, its presentation. It's got some of the best boss fights in the series. Really, really killer stuff all around. Loads of gorgeous and well-designed things to appreciate. But it relies so extensively on fan service to the first game that in terms of its lore, character, and world building, it feels more than a little shallow, and kind of reiterative. Especially after the significant departures that Dark Souls 2 took, many of which I, at least, really enjoyed. So, the way I like to think about Dark Souls 2 and 3 is not as, like, consecutive installments in a coherent series, as in 1, then 2, then 3. Rather, we have Dark Souls 1 as a genre-defining work that, for good or for ill, really changed the way a lot of people think about and approach game design. And then we have, oh, look who's back, it's the dogs, and they're even worse now. Oh, and grotesque, jeez. And instead of 2 iterative sequels, we have 2 totally separate sequels to the first game. This one iterates on the first in terms of its narrative and lore and world building, and introduces serious innovation in terms of design. Whereas the second game retains a lot of design while polishing it finely, while attempting to present a similar system in a very, very different world. And I think if you were to combine the innovations from each entry, you'd have something really, truly special. None of these guys are super hostile, but they got souls and I don't, so we need to rectify that. MC says it feels like, look, this is Dark Souls 1, but we improved everything that was bad with it. Yes, no, exactly. Exactly. Seth says, for me though, I'm not a Dark Souls fan in general, but the Dancer boss fight is my favorite boss fight of all time. My button knees still hurt from it. It's insane. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, all the kudos in the world for taking that on more or less the legit way. I'm going to be cheesing that fight, using a certain strategy that I picked up from just something a friend overheard that I decided to experiment with, and hopefully we can recreate my run where I was able to accidentally defeat her in less than a minute. Okay, so not really been talking about this area much. En route to our hub, we were able to acquire a few more items. Most important of them are these, the embers. No unkindled can ever truly claim the embers that burn within a champion's bosom, which is precisely what makes her yearning for warmth so keen. Gain the strength of flame and increased max health until death. With the strength of fire, the summoning signs of the unkindled become visible, and seekers of embers can be summoned to join in cooperation. But beware, the embers may also attract invaders. Yes, yes, so embers replace humanity or human effigies. And instead of slowly subtracting from your maximum HP with every consecutive death without using a human effigy, as was the case in Dark Souls 2, here you have 2 fixed health amounts for whatever your vitality or vigor is. You got 1 max amount while you're embered, 1 for while you're not. Exit says we ended up doing the Dancer, and Seth says no, don't cheese it, be a man. Well, here's the thing, it's not cheesing, I should say. We're not exploiting glitches or bugs in the game or anything like that. The Dancer is incredibly susceptible, unusually susceptible, to one particular status ailment. And if you have a build that prioritizes inflicting that status, you can whittle her down to next to nothing very easily. I think the undead giants, like the big guy we were having trouble with in Bloodborne, he is also very weak to poison, apparently, I found out. We also got our delightful broken straight sword. A straight sword with a broken blade, a weapon with no exceptional qualities. Only a Mad Hollow would choose to fight with this. And its special skill is a stance. Lots of swords have these. And what it allows you to do is by holding down the left trigger, enter into a special stance that will allow you to perform extra very heavy attacks with the light and heavy attack buttons. MC says, Seth, a man loves his cheese. As an American from the Deep South, I feel I am contractually obligated to. And Seth asks, is the status ailment cheese? No, and use Emmentaler as your weapon. The status ailment, for the record, is bleed. You can cause her to bleed out really easily. MC says, I cast Gouda. And Exit says, the Gouda axe. I am an oddly passionate fan of feta cheese. Oh, by the way, this is the Master. He's a hostile NPC just lurking outside our hub with a very, very powerful katana. And Exit says we're going for the ninja weapon. We certainly are, just not right now, because despite wearing tattered rags and being, well, looking like something of a joke, the Master for an early game NPC is fairly powerful. He can cut you down quite easily and has far more health than you would expect a completely unarmored opponent to do. It's a really good way of setting up the fact that players probably should trust their lingering sense of terror and raised hairs on the back of the neck over their eyes. Exit says you could push him off the edge, though. I think we just did. Holy crap, did he fall off the edge? What? Master, no! Master, no! Master? What? Oh my god, the Master just walked off the edge of the world! Well, as I was saying, very difficult fight. Probably one of the hardest humanoid-type enemies you can encounter in this game. And masterfully, I dispatched him without taking a single hit. I mean, that's just what happens when you play this game over the course of years, right? You develop that kind of skill, that proficiency. It's alright, anybody can do it, really. I mean, it just takes a lot of skill, a little bit of luck. Not bragging, though. Seth says feta cheese with spinach leaves, avocado slices, and balsamic vinegar. Oh, that sounds lovely. I miss, like, really good food ever since quarantine began. MC says, hey look, this is Dark Souls 1. Bad AI and everything. Exit says, when you bonfire and come back, the weapon should be on the stairs. Okay, thank you. Exit says, someone open a window, please. It says he yeeted himself off, was like, oh, not this guy again. Yeah, definitely. Oh, and look where we are. Despite the name, this is not the Firelink Shrine from the first game. This is instead a separate location that will act as our home base throughout the entirety of our adventure. Now, to be clear, I don't like the aesthetics of this place quite as much as Majula. It was just such a beautiful little, like, quiet seaside village. But visually, it's very pleasing as well, and it's super useful because it's not a massive area unless you go around exploring all these outbuildings, most of which we can't right now. Oh, but look, it's a piece of Dark Souls 2 I guess they accidentally left in. We can come here to the corpse of this giant to gather seeds of the giant tree sporadically, which will help us if we get invaded, which we probably will. MC says it'd be great if it wasn't a tomb. Yeah, but I think the visual design of the interior, like this little caldera, is absolutely gorgeous. And as we continue on through the game, like with Majula, basically all of the notable NPCs we'll encounter will end up right back here. Meaning, instead of having to run all over Hill and Dale as we did in Dark Souls 1, especially if you wanted to get some of those cool late-game items from merchants who for some reason always seem to go to Blighttown, you can head back here. And also, unlike earlier games, merchants are essentially one-stop shops. We will have one person for general goods, one person for weapons and blacksmithing, one person for sorceries and miracles, and so on and so on. And we find lore items out in the world that allow us to expand their inventories as we explore. I think that's a really cool mechanic that not only simplifies, like, your acquisition of special items, but does absolute wonders for world building, because now, instead of just finding somebody who knows X amount of sorceries, we find an ancient scroll or a lore book from a lost land, and all of the spells that we can acquire from that book have to do with the character or the history of that land, which I think is really cool. And look who it is! It's our old buddy Crestfallen Salden from the other two games, I believe. Oh, and Demon Souls. He was in Demon Souls as well.
Well, you're not alone. We unkindled are worthless. Can't even die right. Gives me conniptions. And they'd have us seek the Lords of Cinder and return them to their moulding thrones. But we're talking true legends, with the metal to link the fire. We're not fit to lick their boots.
And we get, like, the gesture of pure resignation. Expect to see a whole lot of that. Voice acting, again, is, like, really solid across the board in this game. Quite like it.
Asking us to seek the Lords of Cinder. We're talking truth.
Okay, so he's got nothing more for us right now. That's okay. We'll want to talk to this woman right here, voiced by the same VA who provided the voices of the doll and Lady Maria for Bloodborne. She is this Firelink Shrine's Firekeeper, and she'll be acting as our one-stop shop for leveling up and performing certain other essential actions later in the game.
Welcome to the bonfire, unkindled one. I'm a firekeeper.
Wait, no, this isn't the same VA.
I tend to the flame.
I'm sorry, the same VA voiced the doll, Lady Maria, and the Firekeeper-esque figure in Demon Souls. That was it.
To this end, I am at thy side.
Okay, so we can talk to her to level up, or just get some more general information, which we'll do right now.
Kindled is to be a vessel for souls. Sovereignless souls will become thy strength. I will show thee how. Ashen One, bring me souls plucked from their vessels.
Well, I've got a small city's worth of souls right now. Let's get to work.
Take nourishment from these sovereignless souls.
Okay, y'all, so here's how we want to roll this. We've got 5 levels, that ain't too bad. We are going to be rushing to build up as we kind of prioritized in our earlier playthroughs, Dex... Is endurance what we want? Oh no, they've done this again, haven't they? Okay, so yeah, in stamina and equip load are still separate stats. That did carry over. We're going to be working on equip load, just so we can wear some more robust armor and move about pretty quickly. And then we're going to, after both of those, and probably a little bit of health and stamina are buffed out, we will head on down into intelligence and start prepping to earn weapon buffs and ranged attacks and things like that. Seth asks, have you played Hollow Knight? It's a Metroidvania Souls-like, very much worth playing. I actually have it on my Switch and played a couple hours, like, back over the holidays and absolutely adored it, but, man, for whatever reason, I'm so bad with this. I totally forgot, like, I had a campaign even going, got distracted by something else and just haven't gone back around to it yet. But, I am getting all of the gear I need to get my proper capture card up and working in over the next couple of days, and in that time, I hope to be able to stream Switch titles for you guys, including maybe Hollow Knight. Okay, sorry. Having to reply to another urgent message. There we go. But no, Hollow Knight, I absolutely love the art style. It's an adorable game, just brimming with characters. So excited there's a sequel on the way. Alright, give me some of that vitality. And you know, we're just gonna dump one more into Dex. Why not? We need to get Dex up to around 30-ish as soon as we can. Seth says, oh perfect, you gotta stream it. Yeah, I remember it's pretty difficult, but like, such a gorgeous game. And it's got like a really colorful, detailed bestiary that allows you to learn more and more about the world as you fight new enemies, which is something I always appreciate in games. So you might notice we don't actually know what we're doing here just yet. There's a couple more people to meet. There's our general shopkeeper, the Shrine Handmaiden.
Pleasure to make thine acquaintance.
And someone you might have caught in the background.
I am but a humble handmaid of the shrine. Weapons, armor, trinkets, and spells. I've lots of little things to ease the burden of a weary traveler. And yes, I'm undead too, but not so charitable as to give my goods away. Ashen One, fetch souls and bring them to me. As is thy wont? No?
So she starts with a pretty solid, like, general offering of different items, consumables, weapons, things of that nature. And throughout the world, we can find ashes of various, like, notable figures, many of whom were probably, or allude to at least, characters from earlier in the series. By earlier in the series, I mean Dark Souls 1. And that will expand her repertoire drastically. Both of, like, consumables and things like that, as well as, like, unique armor sets and the like. Also, after defeating certain humanoid bosses, we can come here to purchase, well, here and one other place to purchase their armor. Seth says, I also love their fake language. Yeah, no. Like, the entire world of, I think it's Hallownest, isn't it? Is the name of the kingdom? Is, like, really beautiful and enticing in a way that few games, have been, to me, at least on a visual and aesthetic design level in so long. So, she, like Malencia in Dark Souls 2, sells us a key to an area we want to access pretty early on. Key to the decrepit tower behind Firelink Shrine, which leads to the Bell Tower. The Bell Tower is the grave of Firekeeper's past. When a Firekeeper has served her purpose, she's led to true darkness, where she enjoys a long-deserved sleep. Lots of basic spells and items and things like that to pick up here. We can grab a torch. You only need one in this game. Pretty sure it's good throughout the entire game. And Seth says Hellenist, yeah. And I think it says Seth never went there. I gotcha. The Bell Tower? We want to get there pretty soon-ish, I think. We also probably want a torch. Not yet. We can get one later. Exit says, no, we skipped it. I gotcha. Exit says, I did learn her the tree jump. Yes, I saw that. That was great. We've got the chainmail armor back once again. Don't think we really need that yet. Most, like, must-have items we will scavenge out in the world early on. And, Okay, so y'all remember how Dark Souls 2 took place centuries or even millennia after Dark Souls 1, but was heavily implied to be in more or less the same geographical location? Like, you have all the notable figures, the Lord Soul Bearers, who were remembered, but only as nameless figures shrouded in mystery and the mists of time. Well, this is why I say we have two different sequels to Dark Souls 1, because come Dark Souls 1... apparently the first game happened like last week. Oh, Seth says, OMG, you said y'all, I love the southern accent. Thank you so much. I've come to embrace it. My father has like a Midwestern, what would be called like American or broadcast neutral accent. My mother is from rural Louisiana and has a very, very strong like southern/Cajun dialect. And I kind of straddle the line. I appreciate that my voice is not all that grating, though. I'm glad to hear that. So this is Andre, our blacksmith from the first game. Same exact guy. He's not... Well, hold on. Is he undead? Does he have the dark sign tattooed on, like, his shoulder or chest anywhere? I don't know. I don't think so. He's just back. We'll go to him not only to reinforce and repair our equipment, infuse it with special properties, like if, say, we want to create a really, really heavy bleed sword for the Dancer boss fight, but also to allot our Estus or use shards of Estus flasks we find to allow us additional charges. Really important stuff. He doesn't sell anything in this game, I don't believe, but we'll need a little bit more Titanite in it. Yeah, one more Titanite shard in order to upgrade our Sellsword Twin Blades, which is just fine.
I don't want to see my work squandered.
Wait, no, sorry, we want to allot our Estus. We don't need an Ashen Estus Flask to replenish our FP quite yet. Alright, now you see this great, big, spacious, but empty Undercroft wealth. All of this is going to be slowly populated by NPCs we find around the world, as well as some folks who will just turn up here. This little nook and cranny, this hallway right here, is going to be our real home base for about the back half of the game, because NPCs aligned with probably what I would argue is the best, quote-unquote, country present in this world will congregate there. As I said, this whole undead curse thing, the incessant linking of the first flame, even though we chose not to twice, I guess others came along and did just that, has been going on a long, long time at this point, and the world hasn't gotten any better. The answer, to me, still seems, okay, let's just try for something else. And as it happens, there's a country that strives to do just that, and treat hollows and the undead and the ostracized with dignity. First, one more guy we gotta talk to, one of the Lords of Cinder who's actually here. The only one out of 5 who's actually present on his throne and ready to be offered up as kindling for the first flame to see if Lord Gwyn and his people can't squeeze a couple more 100 years out of this. This guy is Ludlith of Corland, and he is going to become one of our best friends.
All that unkindled, and a seeker of lords. I am Ludlith of Corland. Look not in bewilderment as I say. I linked the fire long ago, becoming the Lord of Cinder. If substantiation be thy want, set thine eyes upon my child cause.
Sif says I was so sad when he melted. Yeah, no, he is one of the most gentle, decent people in this game. And he also probably makes the best case for why the fire should be linked, as he was able and willing to sacrifice himself, body and soul, to perpetuate the Age of Fire, and seems perfectly content with his decision. Now, as we'll see, there are 4 other Lords of Cinder. 2 of them are not here because they cannot make the choice to link the fire themselves, but the other 2, for very interesting lore relevant reasons, chose not to. And the last one, the one who's going to be sitting right up there at the top of the shrine, provides probably the best argument for why the Age of Fire is a completely inhuman, immoral thing to sustain that we'll see in the entire series.
Knowest thou of our purpose? 5 thrones will take 5 lords as kindling for the linking of the fire. The fast-fading flame must be licked to preserve this world. A reenactment of the first linking of the fire. So it is, I became a Lord of Cinder.
Remember, Gwyn too was a Lord of Cinder when we fought him, or what remained of him.
Carlossus. Now, do not be away overlong.
Very soon, probably by the end of today's stream, Ludleth will provide an essential service to us. Real quick, I want to give you a tour of these other thrones. There's this absolutely massive one belonging to Yorm the Giant, king of the profaned capital. This one that seems to be more like a shrine or a war memorial dedicated to the Watchers of the Abyss. A very comfortable-looking chair, all decked out in candles and draped with this fine silk, dedicated to Saint Aldrich of the Deep. The closest thing to, like, a real villain this game has, I guess you could say. And the last one, this kind of igneous, molten, roughshod-looking thing, it belongs to the Lord of Cinder we didn't see in the intro. Holy King Lothric, last hope of his line. That said, we need to actually, do something before we can get the hell out of here, and that is use this coiled sword we pulled out of the Ashen Judge. Sword missing from the Shrine Bonfire, can't be equipped as a weapon. Thrust into the Shrine Bonfire to restore its power and enable travel between bonfires. The sword is only bequeathed to chosen Ash, as judged by the Eudex, who awaits the arrival of Ash as a scabbard. So, we just gotta stick that sucker on in there. It'd be really great if at some point you could actually take, like, one of the iconic swords from a bonfire and wield it just as is, as a weapon. So, sort of the far flame here has been lit, and I think she might have more to say to us now.
Use the coiled sword of the bonfire. The mark of Ash will guide thee to the land of the Lords, to Lothric, where the homes of the Lords converge.
Seth says, we just gotta stick that sucker in there, that's what he said. I mean, listen to these streams long enough, MC can tell you, and I say plenty of easily exploitable or clippable things.
Farewell, may the...
It comes from speaking, I think, in a really, really heavy, like, vernacular.
What a sick joke. Asking after talk.
You will give me something soon. I might just need to sit down here right quick. Exit says Seth will go ham on those. That's totally fine. Not a problem. I often catch myself on phrasing
Sick joke. After talk.
in the run of a day. Okay, no, we're good. Okay. Okay, we're good to go then. This game is unique in that you travel directly from the bonfire, so sort of your home base, to a totally disconnected environment, and then you begin world exploration. A lot of people, again, criticize Dark Souls 2 for not having as open and interconnected of a world as the first game did, instead a number of spokes on a wheel radiating out from Majula. And that can be a fair criticism if, like, that level of interconnectedness is something you really appreciate in a game like this. But it's important to note, as well, that this game is just as, if not more linear than the second one was. Seth asks, what does vernacular mean? A number of things. It could mean, like, simply, like, the language, the lexicon, the words people use, the way people speak. Like, common vernacular, or vulgar vernacular can refer to, like, the way people talk, slang, or the understood meaning of obscure phrases, or, like, non-literal phrases, something like that. Okay, so notice at the very top, instead of a bunch of pictures, where we can select a bonfire, we now have a number of little tabs indicating different locations. And handily, at the base of all of them is going to be a quick link to the Firelink Shrine. Right now we have one choice, and that is the High Wall of Lothric, border of this great kingdom that totally isn't Lordran. We swear it's not. And this is, as first zones go in this series, really good. I adore this place. We're going to be fighting scores and scores of undead soldiers and beasts, and it's a great introduction to what this game has to offer. Now, is Brady going to be whining about the lore even here? Just a little bit, just a little bit. Most of the lore in and around Lothric itself is really good. So we start quite removed from a bonfire, right? And from this little tower top chamber, we emerge onto the ramparts, and again, wow. Is this game not absolutely gorgeous? The way everything's been designed. The way the colors of the castle contrast with, like, that beautiful amber sky behind it. This is good stuff right here. Oh, and we can still roll through things to destroy them. That's the most important thing. Now, as you'd imagine, just looking around, Lothric has seen some better days. Everybody kind of sort of impaled here, reaching towards the highest reaches of the castle. We'll get back to them. Let's go ahead and light up the bonfire proper. And collect some optional loot. Now, you could head down the stairs and immediately be, like, pegged by this crossbowman. But, probably not the best idea. These guys are going to be our principal enemies in this zone. They are undead Lothric soldiers. There's a bunch of peasants wandering around too, like those guys without armor. Relatively frail, but very fast, and there are bell ringers around who will alert entire hordes of them if we don't silence them in time. Hello, doggy. Oh, you coming to me? All right. I'm down. Now, the dogs in this game will absolutely savage you if they manage to get a blow in, which is why we really, really don't want them to. They're incredibly fast and fairly powerful for what they are. This is a big guy with an axe, specifically. These larger hollows, at least early on, can be quite dangerous, so keep an eye out for them, but a good old scimitar up the butt should solve that and most other problems we encounter here. Ooh, yeah, probably shouldn't have taken that hit, but we're fine, still fine. Here's one of... is this one of the bell ringers? No, this is another big guy. Oh, it is a big guy who clocked me with his halberd right off. Healing is much faster in this game than it was in the other two. A lesson learned from Bloodborne. These are the nasty ones I've been trying to remember. I knew, like, one of the big guys was kind of problematic. It's the one with the halberd. Seth says, they're hellish for a strength build. By the time you swing your sword, they get 3 hits in, and Exit says, stop blaming your shit timing on the strength build. No, to be fair, at least in my personal experience, strength builds have a harder time unless they are also leveling their equip load and stamina through the roof so they can swing their weapon in quick succession, and wear such heavy armor that taking a few hits doesn't matter. Uh-oh. Oh, thank God we killed him in time. Thought there was one of those up there. I'll explain what happened real quick, but... to be fair, I'm rolling a dex build, or playing a dex build, and I'm pretty bad at dodging, nonetheless. But it is much nicer having a weapon that's able to get in quick, successive attacks. Exit says Seth was a poise monster by the end of the run. Yeah, we will never get there. MC asks, so how do we explain the return of Dark Souls 1 NPCs in this one, lore-wise at least? I imagine it'd have something to do with the undead curse and the fact that everybody's more or less immortal and some of them haven't gone hollow. But really, for a lot of the NPCs like Andre, there kind of isn't one. You see, there was this theory early on in, like, the Souls community that he was Gwyn's firstborn, the exiled god of war, and when he came back for this game, people said, oh yeah, that might kind of provide some confirmation. No, that is not the case. We get hard, like, confirmation that is definitely not the case later on. MC says, I have a Dark Souls 2 lore theory. Go right ahead. A lot of it boils down to just folks, the dev team included, wanting to include a lot of familiar faces and callbacks to earlier stuff that they had done. Right, but up on that rampart, you may have noticed me freaking out a bit more than usual, because one of, like, the shirtless, emaciated hollows was exuding this massive cloud of darkness. Well, if we didn't cut him down in time before he, like, ruptured, he would have turned into a pus of man. The same exact thing that Udix Gundyr transformed into, with a very similar moveset, and honestly just as strong, if not a little more so. There's a few of those throughout this area, and all of them look like this guy, the guy over here, like, kneeling. Intended to encourage you to focus on anything else. And you generally don't want to allow them to transform because you want to stay alive in these games, is what you want to do. MC says time travel was involved. Oh, no, yeah, that's... Oh, here's one of the bell ringers. They're not a bell ringer, they just scream. My bad. Time travel, or, like, at least a blurring of, like, the dimensions or the borders between different places and times is a consistent theme throughout the series. So, that makes sense, it passes muster. But you know what's a little weird? Hello, dragon. Hello, ancient dragon. There's a bunch of these around here, and you could say, I guess, like, oh, maybe these are Aldia's dragons, right? But Aldia's dragons didn't look anything like this. This is an everlasting dragon. Or a wyvern. Exit says, Brady, I don't want to be that guy, but if you're not using your shield, maybe two and that puppy. If I would get increased power out of it, generally I would. I'm not experimenting with two-handing a lot in these games. Well, or with dual-wield weapons. Exit says to get used to the one-handed and... or L1 and L2 swings. Well, we will try. The Hypno weapon I'll be sticking with too long, probably, but they are really cool. Come on. It is very fast, I appreciate that, and it is more or less... Well, no, I should say it's not exactly, but it's highly reminiscent of the Rikuyo's transform moveset from Bloodborne, which is fine, because I loved that weapon. Okay, now there's one of you with fire bombs, right? There's two of you with fire bombs, right? So Lothric soldiers don't come in quite as many varieties as, say, Drangleics did, but we still got really good variety on tap. We picked up a longbow on the other tower, which could come in handy a couple places down the line. And there we just got our binoculars in case you ever wanted to enjoy this gorgeous scenery. Let's see, anything in and around the dragon? Nope. We want to come through here, though, because we get some extra loot, some gold pine resin, which will come in extra handy early on, especially as our weapon's a little weaker. Oh, we just sent this one tumbling down the stairs. I thought he might be lying down like some of the others. Nope. Always expect ambushes in Dark Souls 3. Firebomb? Oh, hello. You okay there, sir? Guess not. Alright, so doing okay so far. This route is totally blocked off, but you can see there's a big guy right over there. So we just gonna hopefully find a workaround. Including, Soul of a Deserted Corpse. Exit says, but yeah, your armor rating goes up a bit when two-handing a weapon. Even these, even like a dual-wielded weapon. Really, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Seth says, always expect the Spanish Inquisition in this game. Well, we will be dealing with some particularly pugilistic evangelists before long, so yeah, actually. So, since I'm going to be showing off what this game has to offer, we're gonna have to run like mad real quick. Because that is a dragon, and it is going to try to charbroil us alive. And we want to reach a bonfire before we get kills, don't we? Of course we do. But first, we've got to battle our way through the great, like, Lothrican parade. Exit says, so attack rating. So Seth, watch this, something you completely missed. Did y'all not see the dragon? So it's always going to telegraph its fire breath with a screech. And it can cover either of these, or either path. What you want to do... I'm probably going to die here, so apologies in advance. What you want to do is run like hell. Yeah, you'll take damage, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine, and you can open the door, and everything is great. Everything's fine. Whew. Seth says, it's your fault I missed it. Exit says, oh no, I wanted you to find out for yourself. In later streams, I kind of push you a bit to these things. MC says, definitely not the Hellkite Drake. Yeah, no, certainly not. Or two dragons that fulfilled the same exact purpose in Demon Souls. But this one, actually, we cannot fight in the proper sense. Like, there's not some big knockdown, drag-out. Now, hey, look at this. Don't this look a bit familiar? Yes, friends, the first chest we've seen in the game, and it's a mimic. But it's a mimic holding something really, really special. I have absolutely no healing items, so I may get absolutely obliterated here, but I tell y'all what, we're gonna take it on anyway. Exit asks, what, the Thrall Axe? Oh, no, it ain't the Thrall Axe. Mimics are no longer crab walking, they're back to their Dark Souls 1 appearance and moveset. Was there ever any doubt? But I would say they are a bit tankier this time around, overall. Hey! Oh, 3 in a row? Damn! Okay. Ah! Just in time! Just in time! Oh god, that was greedy, but we got it. It's a deep battle axe. Now what on earth does that mean? Well, friends, a deep battle axe has been enhanced and infused with the power of the dark. Now, we don't have the strength to wield this properly yet, but it deals some really impressive damage for this stage of the game, and does have, I think, some very minor dex scaling. So, we will be two-handing this puppy for the short term. Sev says, I didn't encounter Mimic till much later and I was shocked. Yeah, your first Mimic always gets you, and like in Dark Souls 1, the first time I encountered one was in a deep, dark, like very musty looking basement, so it was a straight survival horror situation. Exit says they can be crab walking sometimes. I encountered some that did. Oh, that's right, they use a mixture in this game. I totally forgot. Sev says, I still remember when my Mimic defeated the dragon thingy. Oh, the demon? The fire demon in Karthus? Yeah, I love using that tactic. Exit says, wow, deep battle axe. Oh, wasn't the first one in the cathedral? Yeah, and MC says, this axe will sink deep. It's gonna keep us out of some deep shit, hopefully. Seth says, yeah, it was, we have it clipped. Deep weapons in this game tend to be really, really good. For me, anyway, I like running a dark-based build. It is my favorite of the elements, not only due to its, like, kind of lore and themes, but also because it gives you a bright purple aura on your weapons. And, I mean, that's just objectively cooler than, like, a blue or a yellow aura. Now, this guy. This guy is one of the Knights of Lothric, like, ever so slowly strutting his way out of the opposite tower. And he can actually run us through the ringer. These guys are expert combatants with a really refined style, and compared to everything else we've been fighting, they can give us a run for our money. So, we want to just be aware of that. As it says, so that's what you want the int build for. Interesting. Well, that and, like, basic sorceries. I do like using more fundamental sorceries and hexes. As you can see, fast. Very fast. Relatively easy to backstab, though. And to stagger. Now, you can get the Lothric Knight set, and while decently heavy, it is really solid all around for what it is, and it looks positively gorgeous if you're into that whole fashion Souls thing as I am. Now, we're going to want to get ourselves up onto that tower at some point, just after we find a bonfire. Exit says, Lothric Knight set is life, and I never got Seth to farm it. It's a good set. It's, oh, yeah, there's these guys too. They're basically emaciated, hollowed thieves. Don't worry about them too much. They're a lot faster than the other enemies in this zone, dogs aside, but, you know, nothing that we can't handle because bonfire. Brilliant, brilliant. Now, we've still got a dragon problem, so we're gonna see to that in due time, but first pick up another Titanite shard, which we could use to reinforce any number of things. Seth says, I wanted to get proficient at backstabbing, but unfortunately because of my build, I was basically shouting, hey man, I'm gonna backstab you now, please don't mind me, while rolling in my fat armor and singing Macarena. Yeah, backstabs are much harder to get with like a strength build, and really they're the one thing that make lighter, more agile builds like this super viable, in my opinion. Not only does your weapon swing a bit faster and your rolls come out just a little bit quicker, you also, just head on out the door there, brother. There you go. You also have a much easier time backstabbing enemies. Now, if you're fighting something that can't be backstabbed, I would argue that's where a strength build can really shine, because it can just wear it down. And could you not, sir? Could you not? Okay. Okay, so it looks like we don't have to deal with the knight yet. Two-handing in Souls games always makes me incredibly nervous. Like, the shield, whether or not you use it, just makes you feel safer, you know what I mean? It's like a giant, like, banded iron security blanket, and I love it. Okay, we just want to make sure we don't get clipped by the dragon's fire, and we're going to run around up to the top of its tower. That's the game plan. Oh, well played, sir. Oh, here they come. Oh, perfect synchronization, guys. Great job. Wait. We can't access the top of the tower from there, can we? Nope, it would appear not. Yeah, that's right. My bad. Sorry. Egg says, I decided on the strength build because Seth was face tanking a lot of the starter mobs. And Egg says, no, but you can kill that dragon. Right. We'll get there. There's a lot to do in this starting zone. I think the Forest of the Giants might add a bit more just because it was so massive, but this certainly has more stuff to see and do than, say, like, Undead Bird would have at this point in the game. Hey, buddy. Come on. Ooh! Battle Axe is maybe just a little slow for these suckers two-handed. As it does that, I said, I'm just not going to tell you how. That's fine. And Seth says he's going to tell you for 2 squats. Oh, no dice there. No dice there. We did get a great helmet, though, which we're going to go ahead and equip. Armor of a celebrated Lothric Knight, a strong steel helm, if a little worn. The knight has served as one of the 3 pillars since ancient times. It shares place alongside the wyverns as a symbol of Lothric. Only those possessing a knight's resolve are fit to wear this garment. Well, longtime viewers of my stream will know I'm nothing if not almost stupidly determined to do things that probably aren't worth the time investment. So we're gonna go ahead and put that on, grab us some fire bombs, and head on downstairs. Oh, right, I need to be two-handing my axe because I am a very, very frail man. Which, I mean, gels with real life, so... Definitely getting the role-playing experience in here. Anything here amongst all of, I guess, Lothric's version of those Amazon boxes that you just let pile up over the course of days or weeks, and you're like, yeah, I'll break them down and take them out eventually, and just eventually never comes? Oh, hi. Oh, good delay on that telegraph, man. This is what the axe is really good for. Oh, and just like in Bloodborne, another change that's been made since Dark Souls 2, you can, like, cook and charge your heavy attacks, one-handed or two-handed now, to deal just a little bit more damage. That's great. This room is full of gunpowder. What do you think's on the other side there? Hey, firebomb thrower, hello? Come on, are you gonna do the whole trap thing, or... Alright. I mean... I'm not bothered. Seth says I stacked my Amazon boxes like Matryoshka dolls, so I only have one box. Matryoshka dolls, there we go. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. Throwing knives, never gonna use those. I have, because I ordered an absurd amount of books for the semester, like a small altar of, like, discarded cardboard sitting next to my front door. Like, boxes inside of boxes, and some of those on top of other boxes. I have an ottoman that is just dedicated to boxes at this point. So we got a mail breaker, which is honestly not bad for our build. It's got great critical attacks. Seth says, oh right, you're a teacher. Grad assistant working is like a supplemental teacher, or supplemental instructor, but yeah. And I'm, of course, a graduate student, meaning I take my own classes, for which I have to read something like 30-plus books over the next few months. Yay! So we got a mail breaker. It is the... I've talked about it, but we've never actually shown it off earlier in the series. It is the thrusting sword answer to a dagger. It's really, really good if you want to go like straight rapier or Estoc, as we did early in Dark Souls 1. So we might rock with this for a little while. Exit says, I didn't tell Tef about the bomber and the barrels full of explosives, but she just charged in and killed the bomber before he could throw a bomb. And I'm like, man, crap. It looks like his, awareness of an incoming player is a little finicky. Seth says, I also did that with the guy that turns into a homunculus thing. Right, so you were able to kill one of the pus of man prematurely. Good on you. Trust me, you don't want to fight more of those than you absolutely have to. MC says, speaking of roleplay, I'm reminded of my Blades in the Night character sneaking up to a chair, placing a pressure plate trigger attached to a bomb, and leaving. Is at a dining hall, but many guess, but was not seen. Someone sat on the hot chair that night, ending their life. Oh, jeez. Gonna be getting up to all kinds of subterfuge in that game. Now, this poor gentleman, banged up in the Lothric jail, is named Grey Rat. He's an expert cat burglar, and we'll want to rescue him a bit later on because he acts as a special merchant for goods that we can't buy from the shrine inmate. It'll be a little while before we can get in there, though. We also can't open this, right? No. Didn't think so. I'm simultaneously trying to remember everything I know about the game and come to grips with what I know I remember, but just can't do all that well. Seth says, oh, I forgot about that guy. I wanted to save him, but decided killing was more important. Depending on the way you're going through the game, it very well may be. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Yep. So, good news, sir. Your prostate is in excellent shape. Bad news, everything else is gonna need a little work. We got a round iron shield, which actually has slightly superior physical resistance. We are equipping that. An orthodox round small shield made from metal. Small shields offer little damage absorption and stability, but they're lightweight and ideal for parrying. That'll be fine for us right now. As it says, I didn't push Steph hard on that because she wasn't too interested in the lore. Yeah, that's a fair criticism that folks have lobbied against, like, the lore throughout, like, the Soulsborne run, is it's a little obtuse, hard to get into, and for a lot of folks, just not worth the time or effort. Okay. No, you don't. No, you don't. Nailbreaker's nice and light. It's very short-ranged, but for what we're working right now, I think it's not a bad choice. And look how little stamina each swing uses. As it says, I was trying to get her to do some of the stuff. We did a lot of the Onion Knight stuff. It's Siegmeyer in this game, isn't it? Siegwire or Siegward? I do really like his quest line. We're going to do, oh, there's a crystal lizard somewhere around here. No, ah, hell. There we go, they stick around a bit longer in Dark Souls 3, I think. And they gave us a raw gem and upgrade material. Whee! Seth says Onion Knight is funny, and he's also in Hollow Knight. Yeah, and Exit says Siegward of Katarina. Yeah, we had Siegmeyer, in a different entry. The Onion Knight's great. I'll be doing some of his questline at the very least. The questline we're really going to be, like, mainlining in this playthrough is the Londor questline. Before too long, we can meet an NPC called Yol of Londor, who will start us down that road. Also, I was watching a playthrough of, a Dark Souls 3 mod that, like, poorly translated or Google translated all of, like, the characters and items' names and replaced standard voice acting with, you know, computer-generated voices reading the script. And Yol of Londor somehow becomes Joel of London. And uses, like, the Microsoft Sam voice in that mod for some reason. It's great. Exit says, yeah, didn't push Steph in that direction at all, but did tell her a bit about it before we got to Anor Londo. Yeah, depending on your interpretation of the lore, Londor is either the best or the worst, political faction present in the entire game, or indeed the entire series. I would argue they are, like, morally and certainly for the undead the best, but as we'll see, there's a lot of ambiguity there. So these guys, interestingly enough, are all wearing Deserter's armor. And we got Undead Hunter Charms. They're a PvP item mainly. I think they prevent players from using Estus or healing by standard means for a limited time. Lots of little ambushes in this area, but fortunately, aside from the big guys with the halberds and axes, none of the enemies are too hard to deal with. Exit asks, so you're going for the bad ending. Again, depending on interpretations of the lore as I understand it, the Londor ending is either the worst or the best. I tend to be of the view, or take the view, that Linking the Fire and the Age of Fire are really bad things, actually, for the broader world. So the Londor ending is probably what's best, if you take that view. Oh, Exit says it's the hardest to get. Yes, definitely. Far and away. It's got a very involved quest line tied to it that involves going a lot of places and doing a lot of time-reliant encounters. We got Green Blossoms, remember those from Dark Souls 2? Temporarily increase our stamina regen. I forget, did we ever use Green Blossoms in our Dark Souls 2 playthrough? MC, do you remember? Exit says, and you can very easily fuck up the Londor ending. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. wait, we might have used Green Blossoms for Sir Alon, because he was so fast. There we go! That's a weapon I quite like. The broadsword. A straight sword with a broad blade designed for slashing. A large sweeping attack makes this effective against crowds, but it's prone to deflection from walls in narrow spaces. We're actually going to be fighting a lot of crowds, and right now, our stats are sufficiently low that we're not going to get a major boost from using a dex weapon versus a strength weapon or something like that. So we'll stick with this until we reach our next bonfire, or shortcut at least. Exit says it's a strength weapon. Yeah, it is. It's got pretty decently distributed scaling across both, which is nice to see early on. But it's got a great moveset. Just these sweeping slashes, I really like that. Also, since I know Exit and Seth, you guys haven't played Dark Souls 2, do you mind if, like, I sporadically reference characters and events from that game, or would you prefer if I just, like, tried to keep things as ambiguous and unspoiled as possible? Exit says, also, you skipped a weapon that's actually pretty good for a dex build. The Master Sword? Oh, thank you very much. So we got the Silver Eagle Kite Shield, which is great, but we need just one more strength to wield it. Damn it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Oh, I did skip something. Well, we'll, Astora Straight Sword, right. We'll be sure to pick that up as soon as I remember where it is. Orthodox metal shield engraved with a crest depicting a silver eagle. Medium shields are the most average of shields, providing a practical balance of damage absorption, stability, and weight. Now, this little tavern is straight up hell. It has a couple of the big guys, there's one or two dogs roaming around, and there's, I think, a couple soldiers or deserters just lazing about. Exit says, go top ramp and fall down at the end, open chest. Gotcha. I will try my best to clear the tavern, and then go pick it up. Sup, boy? Come on. The Soul series would also provide, like, great training to aspirant mail carriers, because you will be fighting off rabid dogs in virtually every environment imaginable. Non-stop, too. The dogs are the one type of enemy that are just everywhere in this series. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there's 3 of them, that's right. Golly Moses. Okay, how about my last firebomb? Have fun. Oh, man. Really? Oh, no. The timing on the Halberdier's moves are really tricky to get down. There's a lot of delay in his telegraphs, like deliberate delay. Well, the same could be said of both of them, actually. Difference being, the axe-wielding variant leaves himself wide open to reprisal after one of his attacks. Or all of his attacks, more or less. The halberd version kinda doesn't, broadly speaking. Ah, there we go. Exit says that'll be 2 squats. If I get, like, a face cam and everything like that working at some point, I may actually adopt a similar system. Or, I don't know, like, every 20 deaths or something would be another terribly boring academic article I have to read that night. So we got the cell key. This will allow us to access Greyrat, I believe. Key to cell holding thieves and the like. There's no shortage of brash thieves in Lothric, and these particular thieves likely scaled the wall from the undead settlement. That's this game's great big kind of Bloodborne throwback area. We'll be heading there next, and it's really, really cool. But they're only willing to practice their thievery on the high wall, for fear of Lothric Castle, rumored to devour men, keeps them clear of its grounds. We got that, and we've also got an Estus Shard. Absolutely lovely. We'll be making great use of that in due time. But first, right, Astora Straight Sword. And something glowing behind some boxes of beer. Another Titanite shard. Excellent, excellent. One of the things I love most about the Souls series in particular, Bloodborne, due to its overall lesser number of like unique loot items, didn't have this quite as much, in my opinion. But everywhere you go, you're finding unique little treasures that either help you build a better character or give you very interesting tidbits of lore about the world you're in. So there's always a reason to celebrate when you find something new, and you're finding new things all over the place. Exit, can I get the straight sword from here, or would I have to go back to the last bonfire? Seth says, I notice you quite often go, yeah, no, in German we actually have a legit word for it. Ja, nein. Or no, jein. It's in the vocab. Nice. I appreciate that. There's so many, like, sentiments that English doesn't articulate very well that I wish we could take some loan words from. In the room with the Estus. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, I got you. I got you. Haha! How is it I totally forgot about this? How is it I totally just walked past the chest? See, this is something that Dark Souls will do to you. Even though I knew that wasn't a mimic, I swung at the chest anyway because it is, like, embedded in my muscle memory. So, a store of straight sword. We need faith to use this, which, I mean, based on our character's faith is a little ways off, but if you remember, this is actually what we used to purge Gravelord Nito's minions in Dark Souls 1. A well-crafted sword named after the ruined land of Astora. Astora, before its fall, was a land replete with royal blood, and this weapon is both a reminder and heirloom of that area. Oh, Exit says not necessarily, faith is only for the weapon art, so it'll still do just fine. Okay. We'll go ahead and use it then. Seth says, actually, fun fact, English was dumbed down because of the Vikings. Vikings would raid England and marry the English women, but because of their stupidity, the language had to be dumbed down. Especially the plurals, that's how the double S plurals came to be. Right, so, like, Danish settlers and soldiers couldn't understand, like, earlier Middle English or couldn't speak it fluently, right? There's still some remnants of Old English, like child and children, but the original plural of book was beak. Oh, wow. I'm really interested in linguistics, but I know surprisingly little about, like, the development of Western European languages outside of, like, which ones are derived from Romance language and so on and such. Or the contrast between, say, Vulgate and Ecclesiastical Latin. But I've always been fascinated in, like, etymology and linguistics, but mainly pertaining to, like, say, Asia, the Middle East, the Pacific, the area I study. Okay, time to meet a new friend. As it says, yeah, don't forget to two-hand the sword. I won't, thank you. This is a member of a holy order associated with Lothric, one of the Winged Knights. Now you might think, oh, he's adorable. He's got gorgeous-looking armor with these little tiny metal wings attached to the back of it. He can absolutely ruin our day. He is a very powerful and fairly tanky opponent for this stage of the game. Well, that settles it. Oh, home again. Seth says, unfortunately, I don't know much about Asian languages, but I know everything and more about the Balkans. That is so cool. I've taken several courses dealing with, like, Central and Eastern Europe, just out of personal interest, but it's been, God, ages since I reviewed any of that. Oh, rolled right into it. That's good. That's good. Oh, hell, I just took that to the... I'm gonna have to relearn their timing. I'm gonna have to relearn a lot of timings, because like Bloodborne, enemies and players in this game are much faster. So learning exactly where your iframes from rolls fit is going to be fine. Exit says, a friend of mine convinced his wife that the plural of anus is ani, and she believed him for a long time. Or like anii? Anii? Seth says, unfortunately, quite a lot of facts taught in Western literature about the Balkans is very untrue. Oh, believe me, I know. I had a couple professors, fortunately, who were from that part of the world. In fact, I did a little bit of work for a gentleman specializing in, like, particularly, like, Soviet history of Eastern Europe and the Balkans outside of Russia. Sorry, of the Balkans and Eastern Europe outside of Russia quite recently, helping with, like, a class. Oh, next it says, oh, I forgot it's a bit of a Dutch joke. That's totally fine. Most of our humor, or most of, like, stereotypical American humor is just, like, swearing and explosions, apparently, so I always welcome something a little more sophisticated than that. Oh, it's active. Shit. Run. I gotta get my souls. I gotta get my souls. Aye. Oh, hell. I'm just eating everything now. That's on me. That's on me. I tend to rush a little bit too fast to get my souls back. Seth says, little known fact, the independence war of the 90s in the Balkans was started by the priests from the Vatican. They were going from village to village telling people that if Croatia separates from Serbia, the Pope would, like, come, I guess, visit or provide, like, his blessing to the country. The Pope did come in the end. Well, it wasn't really started, but it was heavily influenced by them. Oh, no, yeah. As were numerous minor wars and conflicts throughout, like, Central, Southeastern, and Eastern Europe. Not just through the Middle Ages, but, like, the early modern period. And as it happens, very rarely, especially when the Papal States existed as an independent political entity, would they actually, like, follow through and clean up any, like, international incidents they created. Typically, they would retreat very, very quickly. Exit says there's just so much of Americanism I just don't understand. Man, same. I've been living here my entire life and I still don't get it. I still don't get much of it. Longsword, good workman's weapon, we'll take it. Oh, that's the spin. Oh, shit. Gotta remember, this isn't Bloodborne. You can't just dodge through everything. Jesus. There we go. Nice. Oh, and we got his weapon right off the bat, the Wing Knight Halberd. It requires more strength than we'll have for a long time, but it's honestly a pretty good weapon, and its special weapon art is, of course, that ridiculous spinning attack that he pulled off. We are almost to a shortcut, though, ladies and gents. Quite a grisly scene around here. Well, Exit, to give you an example, though, like, in, like, maybe the southern or, like, the remote southern version of the joke you shared earlier, the punchline would be, one person wouldn't know what an anus was, and the other wouldn't know what Latin was. We're almost to our first shortcut, I think. Yes, we are. It's right up here. Oh, man. Yeah, and we just get mobbed by these, these weak, like, sort of completely hollowed citizens. Just as soon as we come over, our health doesn't matter right now because we are almost home free. That's why I'm just tanking these. Now notice, though, all of these people are using what's left of their sanity, what's left of their awareness, to climb up to the uppermost reaches of Lothric, to the castle, for safety, for protection. Because whatever's beyond the walls is much worse than whatever's going on in here. And we're gonna see exactly what's meant by that very shortly. Seth says, I unfortunately had to learn Latin in high school as a mandatory course. I still hate it. The only person I know, well, who is entirely fluent in Latin or achieved fluency at some point was my grandmother, who I think also attended a school where it was mandatory. I would love to learn, absolutely love to learn, like Latin Vulgate, but just never have had the opportunity. I can do decently well in, like, conversational Mandarin and English, and that's about it. So notice, this gives us a shortcut right back up to the top of the wall. And believe it or not, friends, we are just a stone's throw away from our first proper boss. And it's a boss that introduces a new mechanic I really, really like. Seth says, yeah, we all had to learn Latin for 2 years, writing essays and stuff. Because I was a science major, it was only 2 years. General high school had it for 4. Oh, wow. I think it's so cool. Only select schools, usually private schools, do it over here. But I also think it's a brilliant idea where secondary schools and the like allow or require students to specialize in a discipline like they would have to do at a university in order to focus more specifically on their interests or see if certain fields appeal to them. I just think it's a smarter, more involved way to do pedagogy. Otherwise, you're taking a student like myself who has always been fascinated with the social sciences and humanities, and making them take 4+ years of math and scientific disciplines that are fascinating, and at least some of which is vital, but that won't have a direct bearing on things I'm going to need to know for, like, my career. Whereas there's lots of other things, you know, your political science, your ethics, your economics, that are just, at least in American high schools, generally left by the sideline. In high schools anymore, students will get like 3 years of history, or 3 years of mixed history and geography, and at least around here, 1 semester of economics and 1 semester of specifically United States government. So a very fundamental form of poli-sci. That's it. Seth says, actually one of the exams had us translate the Gaudeamus song, learn it by heart in both Latin and Croatian, and sing it at the graduation. That actually sounds very nice, though. That sounds really cool. I'd love to do something like that. Okay, and we have arrived at the Cathedral of Lothric. Doesn't serve a really big storyline purpose. This is just a wall. We'll be able to progress further up that-a-way later, but right now we just need to drop by to pick up I believe our first covenant of the game, and open the way out of here. Again, we're looking for the Lords of Cinder, and most of them are nowhere near like proper Lothric Kingdom borders. Right up the butt, as always. I am going to miss, like, the death by like, hand straight up the ass animations from Bloodborne, but backstabs still look really nice in this game. Come on, I could do this all day, man. Oh! Apparently you can't, jeez. I forgot that they could two-hand it and use their spear like a lance from the second game. I am not doing very well. There we go. Once we get a slightly more reliable shield, this will go a lot easier for us, believe you me. I dropped an ember, though. Very nice of him. But notice, oh no! The streets are lined with the corpses of Londor pilgrims, some of which seem to have just frozen right in place where they were, weighed down by these massive, fairly natural-looking shells. Something's clearly wrong here, and that procession's gonna be really important in just a minute. Oh, damn it. Look at you waiting for an opening. That's pretty good. Oh. I'm so rusty, y'all. I'm sorry. There we are. I have no idea what happened here. It looks like the entire army just sat down and died. One thing to keep in mind is even compared to the world of Dark Souls 1, this one is at its absolute limit. This is the end, unless we do something drastic to change things for the better, which we're going to try our best to do. Seth says, you know about this lore as much as I know about Witcher lore. I'm impressed. Oh, thank you very much. I absolutely adore The Witcher. Witcher 3, anyway. I completed my first full playthrough, I want to say, very, very late last year, and oh my god, the world building, the visual design, all the different monsters and characters you can encounter, the abundance of boss battles. It's probably one of my favorite RPGs of all time. If not my absolute favorite. It's really, really good. Oh, right, there's one more of you. There we go. Uh-oh. Happen to have any armor for us, sir? Just the helmet again. Oh well. Maybe we can use it as like a decoration or surf punch in it or something. There is a Lothric Knight down here with a blue mantle and glowing red eyes. This is actually, believe it or not, at least a partial reference to Demon Souls, where some of the more powerful humanoid enemies in the game's first of 5 totally distinct worlds were these spirits possessing armor with glowing blue eyes, the Blue Eye Knights. They were so creatively titled. And early on in that game, you could find one with glowing red eyes, who would become the norm later on, Red Eye Knights, and, oh goodness, it would lay you flat. This is Emma, the High Priestess of Lothric's extremely ambiguous religion.
The wait has been long, unkindled one. I am Emma.
I love her
Priestess
robes.
Of Lothric Castle.
Like the different shades of violet and blue contrasted with the golds look so gorgeous.
Here. They have left, gone, to their journey homes, converging at the base of this castle. Head to the bottom of the high wall, forge on through the great gate, and raise this banner to proceed.
Right on. So we get a small banner bearing, if you'll notice, the Way of White symbol, so Lord Gwyn's religion from the first game. And this is actually the kind of callback to an earlier game I appreciate. It's not like, here's the same exact thing in the same form with the same name. It implies that this is an element of a much earlier culture that has survived through osmosis over time. I really dig that. A small banner held by Lothric messengers, hold up outside the main castle gate to be greeted by an escort. When the high wall appeared, the path to the undead settlement was blocked, and messengers came bearing this banner. They were sent out with a duty, but had no way of returning. Yeah, look at that wording, though. When the high wall appeared, not when it was constructed, not when it was built, not after it finished, when it appeared, that doesn't have any greater connotations in the lore that I'm aware of. That's just a very strange word choice. Now, Lady Emma does have one more thing to give us.
This gift is for you. It is the insignia of an old covenant. If you fear trespassers, dark spirits drawn by the embers, then etch this upon your heart, and the old Concord will beckon noble blue sentinels to hunt these foul spirits.
And we get our first covenant, and what do you know? It's a Dark Souls 2 throwback, the Way of Blue. Seth says, yeah, it's a strange word choice. Maybe it was always there, but people just weren't aware and became aware because of something. Yeah, we do get a lot of indications that things started to change in Lothric very, very quickly after the last Lord of Cinder decided, you know what, screw this noise, I'm not linking the fire. And God, what an encounter that's going to be. But covenants work a little bit differently in this game, crew. We earn covenant items, or find some of them, scattered throughout the world. And instead of speaking with an NPC and pledging ourselves to covenant XYZ, we will instead have a special slot in our loadout for a covenant item, and you can swap between them at any time, taking all the benefits of a particular covenant with you. The Way of Blue functions much as it did in the second game, giving you an increased likelihood to find, I think, cooperative multiplayer partners, and also summoning in members of two distinct covenants to assist you should you be invaded. A pale blue sheepskin parchment featuring an illustration of the moon, symbol of an ancient accord. Members of the Way of Blue are the beneficiaries of an ancient accord. When a dark spirit threatens them, a blue spirit will grant them assistance and help to root out the invader. Summoning takes place automatically while this is equipped. So we'll throw it down there, and you'll notice our icon in the upper left-hand corner has changed to an embered version of the Way of Blue sigil. Really dig that. Oh, no, we don't want to do that. Not at all. We are going to head back to the Firelink Shrine quickly and upgrade our character and our armor a little bit, or our weapon, I should say. I'm probably going to want to stick with the rapier for this one because it is the best, purely dex-based weapon we found so far, for my playstyle anyway. I like attacks that execute very quickly, and whoa! That was really close! That can get us out of trouble in short order. Well, if my heart rate's anything to go by, I just got my exercise for the day. We'll also need to make sure to let Greyrout out of his cell. Alright, to use the bonfire, we first have to get rid of the dog. Exit says I'm gonna get off and get some sleep. Take care. Oh, thank you so much, man. Same to you. Thank you for dropping by. I know it's very, very early for you, so I appreciate the patronage. Always happy to have you guys here. If we head back to Firelink Shrine, we shouldn't be visited by anybody new, but we might be able to get a couple additional things from folks who are already here.
What a sick...
Nothing new from him yet. He will have, like, an actual purpose later on, I promise you. Hold on, does she sell any weapon we might want? Just gotta double, triple check. Oh, it's 20,000, not 2,000 souls. Never you mind, we'll come back for that later. There's the scimitar, which is just fine. But not worth it quite yet. We found this, and I'm a major, like, soul spendthrift until, like, probably the back half of the game, and so we are going to be using almost exclusively stuff we just picked up off the ground. We'll reinforce that Estus Flask. Just had the one shard. And, yep, we're good. Let's reinforce this rapier all of once. Well, can we buy a couple of shards from the handmaiden? No, we cannot.
Ashen.
Okay. So, just having a slightly more robust rapier is going to be a great boon to us.
Welcome home, speaker. Very well then taken.
So what we're gonna do is actually start off... We get 5 levels again, okay. Dumping probably a couple points into strength to make sure we can use decent shields and things like that quite early on. Give me some more dexterity, and then we'll... MC says I won't be able to sleep easily tonight. Just figured out some elements for my Blades character and want to toy with the idea now. That's totally fine, man. I was up until like 1 in the morning last night, decompressing after a 3-hour remote lecture on Zoom, just reading through like an old Pathfinder book. And Seth says I should go to bed too, but I'm an irresponsible mess of a person, so I'll stay for a while still. You are among friends, then. I am much the same. I'm glad to have you. Oh, do we want to raise our equip load, or do we... tell you what, we are going to work on health very slowly but surely, and equip load very slowly but surely right now. Dexterity at 20 that's a perfectly decent place for it to be.
Farewell, Ashen Native.
Now that we've got that strength too, we can use an actual shield that will block like 100% of physical damage, which is really important for us early on, since we ain't exactly the most, you know, brawny, tanky character. We're going to free Grey Route really quickly, see if he's got anything that might help us in this fight, and then we're going to head down to the base of, well, not exactly the base, but the gate of the High Wall complex, and encounter the game's first real boss, who can be, you know, pretty tough, especially in its second phase. Something really cool about this game, guys, is... even to a greater extent than Bloodborne, just about every boss has multiple phases where not only their appearance, but their moveset and mechanics are totally distinct. Like, very little carryover from one to the next. That's more like it. Ooh! Caught us with the backswing on that one. Uh-oh. Oh, Brady, you've got a shield. Why don't you use it? Oh, that's why. Because they can guard break you multiple times in a row. Compared to, like... What's a good way of thinking about the Lothric Knights? Okay. So... it's like the Black Knights from Dark Souls 1 had slightly worse stats, and were... oh my god, that one actually killed me. Seth says, yeah, the bosses are like, you thought you could spam that fast attack till I die? Nope. And then yeet you to the moon. That they do. Did you play the Ashes of Ariandel DLC? On stream? Because that DLC is home to probably the most bullshit phase-based fight in the entire series. It's a really well-designed fight, but it goes on for so long. Nope. Oh, man. Do you intend to, at some point? It's... okay, so this game has 2 DLC, Ring City and Ashes of Ariandel. Ashes is fine. It's not phenomenal or anything, but it's just fine. And Ring City is genuinely one of the best pieces of DLC the series has seen. Probably. Oh yeah, okay, you're gonna have some fun. It's a really cool area, especially if you've not played Dark Souls 1. Seth says exit probably won't let me live. I mean, your streams of this series are incredibly entertaining, and it's great watching somebody go through blind and not just persevere, but have a whole hell of a lot of fun with it. I love seeing that. Ah, and see, now that we can block 100% of physical damage, the halberdiers are nothing to fear. Explosions still are, though, so we should probably be just a little cautious here. Still nothing, man? Okay. And that guy was attacking the wall. Good job. We're picking up a ton of throwing knives. I don't know that we'll ever use them. But, trying to think, is there anything you'd want throwing knives for? One or two enemies later on, I guess. So now we've rescued our buddy Greyrot, who is genuinely one of the nicer people we'll run into.
You're no jailer, are you? No, you're from far away. And judging by the bell, you must be some of that unkindled ash.
I love his voice actor.
Remarkable. If that's true, then I have a favor to ask. Below the high wall is a musty little town. Not the home of any lord, just a very old settlement of undead. An old woman...
It's also basically the opening stages of Resident Evil 4, so it's got that going for it.
Give her this ring. I'm not asking for charity. In fact, if you do this for me, I'll be sure to repay you in kind. I may be a petty thief, but I've more wits than most royalty. What do you say then, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well.
We're happy to help. Not just because you're going to give us a ring.
I am Greyrat of the undead settlement.
Seth says my streams are entertaining because I endure actual physical pain for every failure. I'd say they're entertaining because you, like, tend to pick up on things and learn your way around the game really quickly. I'll say this, yes, you have, like, co-commentators, but me and my friends, when we were younger, the game first came out, I think, 2016, and we were playing it, it would have been my junior year of college? It took us ages to get the feel of this game down, and you picked it up like that. And Seth says, I love his voice. Yeah, no, the voice acting in this series is so good. I think it's a combination of the incredible, like, VA team and their blocking and all of that, but also the way the audio is mixed or, like, presented, because everybody is speaking in a very calm, low whisper. It's like, the entire game script is delivered in a sort of pseudo-ASMR, and I think that's really cool. Seth says, junior year of college, I'm older than you? Yes ma'am, you are. I am 22 years old. Will be 23 at the tail end of the year. Now that we've rescued Greyrot, he should be in the Firelink Shrine selling various bits and bobs that we won't be accessing for a while because we're taking on a boss. Seth says, I'm 27, and MC says, I'm the senior here. I'm used to being, like, the youngest person in social groups and the like, so I am totally cool with it. I might also, by a hair, be like the youngest person in my cohort at school/work. I don't know about that, though. You can actually get a full Deserter's armor set from these soldiers, and you know, compared to like the Hollow Soldier and Warrior armor you could get in Dark Souls 1, for early game armor, it's not awful. I mean, it ain't great, but it ain't awful. It's the Burger King of the armor world. It's just fine. It's inoffensive. Now we're just going to ride our elevator right back on down, and we're going to try our best to avoid the Lothric Knights pacing in front of the cathedral, at least until after we've taken down the boss. Seth says, Burger King, it's just fine. That's a kicker slogan. Look, it honestly would be an upsell if the Burger King in my hometown was anything to go by. I absolutely adore my hometown due to the incredible amount of stories I could tell about it. Here's what I know about the Burger King. I remember it being closed for several years consecutive years when I was young. It was open from roughly the earliest time I can recall. I must have been like a toddler, to maybe the time I was 5 or 6, then closed until I was maybe 10 or 11. And apparently, according to a friend of my family's who works in, like, building assessment, they had to shut down for years and undergo an insane deep clean and renovation and all that because the Burger King was being used as a meth lab and distribution center. Through, like, okay, you get your terrible frozen Coke or whatever, and also your actual Coke. Then, when the Burger King reopened, it was notorious for, like, employees who would give you whatever they wanted to because, like, you know, who cares? It's Burger King. Nobody's there for a good time. And I used to have a radio show when I was in at my first university. I was on the radio for 4 years doing, like, a late-night Quiet Storm format of R&B and soul and, you know, just beloved music from years past that's kind of wrongly forgotten these days. Oh, dearie me. And oftentimes, I'd get off, it was a late show, of course, and I just needed something to drink on my way home because I was stupid and always forgot to bring, like, a drink with me or it wouldn't last the whole multi-hour show. And so, the only place that'd be open on my way home would be the Burger King. And I am, like, a little guy. I am 5'4", and I drive, like, a sedan. And it's really hard for me to actually, like, say, reach a drive-through window without, like, awkwardly thrusting myself halfway out of the car window. So I'd always go in on foot. It's just easier that way. And every single time I'd go in this Burger King for, like, a month straight, it'd be nearly deserted. And the two managers, like, I guess, handling the night shift, were constantly on the brink of a fist fight over, like, change or sanitation or something like that, screaming at each other across the restaurant, sometimes throwing things at each other, and this was just perfectly normal. Everybody acted as though it was. And, just Burger King stories. I could go on forever, but we do have a boss to fight. Beyond this oddly kind of botanical-looking door, like a tree has grown up and through this door. This has no lore significance, it just means that things have gone to shit here ages ago. Seth says, lol, and MC says, Burger Meth King. The Walter White of fast food. There you go. So, I mentioned when we created our character that Irithyll is a really important place in this game's story. This enchanting-looking fella, Vort of the Boreal Valley, is an Irithyllian. Irithyll is a magical realm of Dark Souls' version of fairies, associated with the frost and magic, and they'll be antagonists for much of the game. Think of it as Anor Londo, but quite literally cooler. So, for a dex build, using like a rapier or something, Old Vort has quite a bit of health, and his blows inflict a frostbite status that will slow our stamina regen. So what you want to do is just poke him in the ass over and over again. I've never actually fought him with a rapier, so this is an experiment. So as you can see, it's not that bad. He isn't exactly possessed of all his faculties right now. He was a noble knight, but the ruler of Irithyll turned him into this beast to make him, well, more servile. And as a result, he's like just dragging his mace around, he's screaming and barking, he's a really cool fight. And now we're in phase 2, he's going to charge at us and use a frostbite breath sporadically. When he uses his frostbite breath, he will, what the hell? He hits with it through his body, that is nasty. But he will be largely static, not super dangerous. Being frostbitten, super dangerous, though. Almost got you. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Ooh! Yeah, there we go. Not bad at all. I quite like that fight. He's very aggressive and visceral, gives you a clear picture of what to expect from this game's bosses vis-a-vis the slower, more kind of even-handed fights of earlier entries in the series. If you notice, though, if we play this a bit like Bloodborne, kind of aggressively, so many of his attacks will just go straight over our head because he's kind of holding the mace a bit like you would an accordion or something and just slamming it down on either side of his body. It's brilliant. We get his soul as a reward. And Seth says, so basically the same as elves in The Witcher. Yeah, no, the people of the Anel. The Wild Hunt, who I absolutely adore as antagonists. I just love the look of them and their home realm. Man, I really want to stream Witcher for you guys at some point now. Witcher and, when Cyberpunk's coming out, you better believe we're streaming that. So the soul of Boreal Valley Vort, one of the twisted souls, steeped in strength. Vort served as an outrider knight, never far from the fleeting dancer. Too true. There's another boss associated with Irithyll that we will be able to find not too far from here. Seth says the Wild Hunt is basically the Slavic version of the Riders of the Apocalypse. Oh, I know. A fascinating figure from, like, cultural lore. The entire region over. And I think Witcher 3's interpretation of them is really interesting, like as dimensional outcasts, kind of. Now, folks, if you'll give me just a minute, I'm going to pick up or go grab another drink, because, God, I've nearly talked myself hoarse today, / screamed myself hoarse. And, we will be back for another probably 40 or so minutes and one more area before we have to cut today's stream. I'm loving this, though. Thank you all so much for being here. So nice to be able to decompress with something like this, given the endless roster of meetings I'm having to deal with. Alright, and we're back with, this time, one of the orange sodas I absolutely loved as a kid, which will do practically nothing to slake your thirst, but will evoke nostalgia of a time when, hey, going outside and seeing the sun were things. So for our first boss performance, outside of the tutorial, that actually wasn't too bad. I'm used to using the deep battle axe for that fight, and for some reason it just chews through Vort's HP, but thankfully we were able to kind of like get up under him and use these charged thrusts to like just finish things really quickly. Probably should have thought through the phrasing of that a little bit more, but you know what I mean. A couple people might have new things to say to us, I'm not sure. Like
Welcome,
the Firekeeper?
Ashen one, to sovereignless. I'm
Nope.
Ashen.
Still nothing.
Very well, then take note.
We can pick up a few more souls, though. Or one more level. I'm sorry, we can pick up one more level. What air shall it go into? I'ma keep building, probably dexterity and vitality. Dexterity, vitality, vigor in more or less
Farewell, Ash Maid of...
even measure for the time being. I do appreciate that we can find the Estus shard in the high wall on a blacksmith's anvil, like near a forge, letting you know kind of, hey, here's who you should take it to if it's not clear. So Greyrot sets up shop right over here.
Oh, hello, you're back. And in one piece. Well, now it's time I do my part. Whatever trinket you need, speak up. Just don't ask me where I got them. Do me a favor and don't forget our promise. Give
Oh, I
this
won't.
ring to old
Not at all.
Loretta at the base of the high wall. A nuisance, I know, but it will help me tie
So his
up
quest
some
line's actually
signs.
really simple and straightforward, and after you complete each step of it, you can send him out to another location, meaning like until you kill the next boss, and he'll come back with a whole new slew of spoils for you to peruse. And as you can see, even compared to the Shrine Maiden, he starts off selling some pretty righteous-looking stuff. There's like the basic consumables, they're fine. In terms of weapons, you've got a lot of the old standbys. Oh, alright, Seth, thanks for dropping by. Really, really appreciate you spending some time with us this evening. Have a wonderful night, alright? Take care. MC says, for a game that does a lot of Dark Souls 1 fan service, it has a lot of Dark Souls 2 ideology. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like what they tried to do in many ways was retain a lot of, like, the core mechanics, the stuff under the hood from Dark Souls 2, modified with some of the lessons they learned about pacing and combat from Bloodborne, and just pave over everything else with the aesthetics of Dark Souls 1. Hence why hexes are still in the game, they're just not a distinct school of magic anymore because that upset people because Dark Souls 2. And there are a bunch of covenants present in the game. They all just look and work and have the same names largely as the ones from Dark Souls 1 because Dark Souls 2 upset people, and so on and such. I really don't want to be too reductionist, but it's hard to read some of the arguments made online against Dark Souls 2 as anything more than people sore that they didn't get more Dark Souls 1. And I think that's... it's a hard judgment to make, right? Like, people like what they like. But is that really fair grounds for saying Dark Souls 2 is the worst one? No, I would argue on the whole, is it the one I enjoy playing the most, like the one that feels the best in my hands? Probably not. But it is probably objectively the best one. Oh yeah, you have to wait for the exterior Firelink Shrine to load up. Doesn't mean we're being invaded, we're fine. Don't worry. We need to go get the Master's Sword. Upgraded this rapier when I could have used the Master's Sword. And armor set. Believe it or not, the guy running around in, like, tattered strips of cloth actually has an armor set associated with him. I hate that I didn't get to show off the duel for you guys, because the Master's a pretty, like, difficult opponent, and he drops the Uchi Katana, the basic katana that we could have gotten from, the Undead Merchant in Undead Burg, Dark Souls 1, had we killed him. A unique katana characterized by the fine craftsmanship of an eastern land where it was forged. The finely sharpened blade cuts flesh like butter and causes bleeding, but breaks easily as a result. Yeah, check that out. And you can enter a stance with this one as well. Observe. It's an Iato stance. Check that out. Very, very cool. I'm torn between whether to use the Uchi or the rapier. MC, do you have an opinion or preference? Should we use, like, thrusting swords, katanas, a different type of weapon if we find one that works really well for us? Like, I don't think, other than the twin blades, we've seen anything else that'd be super viable for this build yet, right? MC says, this looks like a scimitar, and I like them. Well, we do have just a straight-up scimitar available from the merchant. Do you wanna check that out? MC says, but I want my streamer to pick their desires. I know, but I'm so bad at choosing, like, either of these would be just fine. Obviously, we made it through the entirety of Dark Souls 1 with a rapier, which just blew my mind. But I do really like the katana movesets. Tell you what. We'll stick with the rapier. Oh, MC says I'd like to see the scimitar. Sure thing. It's dirt cheap, too. It should work like the one-handed, sellsword blade.
Ashen.
Yeah, baby, there it is. Lightning fast. And its weapon art is another spin, I want to say. A really cool looking spin, check that out. Woo! A lot of the weapon arts may not be that practical, but they all look really, really cool. And notice, this time when you, like, MCS, do you have a run attack? Sure, let's... Yeah, it's like a little diagonal upward slash, and after a roll... yeah. Yeah, that ain't bad. That ain't bad, actually. MC says, yeah, it is the same. The same as in Dark Souls 1, right? Not Dark Souls 2, because if you remember, in Dark Souls 2, these had different movesets. Like, you know, a better moveset. I think because the Uchigatana gives us bleeding, we might want to take that for now. MC says, improved in mini-moves, but same as Dark Souls 1. Well, of course. Oh, right, we were also going to take on that Lothric Knight with the blue armor and red eyes. So the Undead Settlement, as we'll see, is in my opinion fan service done very well, because it incorporates, I think, a lot of the aesthetic elements and the overall feel of Bloodborne into, or in a way that makes sense for Dark Souls 3. It is a throwback in terms of tone and some of the encounter design. Like early on we'll see there's a massive like bonfire with a bunch of deranged villagers prowling around it, just like in Central Yharnam. But all of this has been optimized and reworked to make sense mechanically and narratively in Dark Souls 3. So it's something that should feel familiar and comfortable in a good way, instead of just, oh hey, it's that thing from that other game. Again. Just kick his shield out of the way and then riposte him. I killed him because I, like, thrust him straight in the stairs. That's how we do it around here, y'all. Now, I don't think we're powerful enough to kick away, say, the Lothric Knight's great shields, but maybe the regular shields we could. Oh, yeah. The katana also just hits a little bit harder. I mean, it'll wear enemies' poise down faster, so I'm all for that. Unfortunately, our own stamina kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Oh, I see you, number 2. These guys are tough, like early game. They really are. Oh, man. Should have seen that coming. And they can get some range on those charges. They really can. I like them as enemies, though. They're very well designed. They feel challenging, but very fair. And, of course, it's fun to run into them later in the game and just, like, obliterate them, you know, like, effortlessly. Oh, buddy, if I could get your spear... Oh, game over. Or any other part of the armor, really. I would go nuts for some Lothric Knight armor right now. Speaking of, ain't there one more over here? Howdy, howdy. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and dead. Okay, so the Blue Eye Knight, or Blue Armor Red Eye Knight, is gonna be, as I've said, pretty tricky because he hits like a truck. But we can get him. We can get him. I don't know if he'll turn around before we can backstab him. He might. Nope. Oh, but look at that health, would you? Yikes. Oh, and he can bless his sword. There is that. Remember, Lothric's knights are holy knights, and so not all of them do, but certain among them can wield special miracles. That should do him in, right? Yeah, nice. Gonna drop anything for a refined gem, another upgrade material. Is that it? Nothing over here? Really? Just a gem and a bunch of souls? Okay, okay, well, you know, good practice to get in, right? Oh, so something cool. You can actually sequence break the game easily by killing Lady Emma, because you'll immediately spawn another way more powerful boss that's not meant to be fought until we've taken down all of the Lords of Cinder outside the castle. That's something we want to stay away from for a while, because I can barely handle this right now. Oh, right, but that ring Greyrot gave us, you remember what it was? It was a ring from the first game, the blue Tearstone ring. A ring set with a large rare Tearstone jewel temporarily boosts damage absorption when HP is low. This stone is said to be a tear of sorrow of the goddess Catha, and of course, tears are always more beautiful near death. We also got a ring of sacrifice, you remember those, right? Now, to actually advance, we need to walk all the way out to this destroyed highway, and you see that out there? That's the great big Bloodborne reference that is the Undead Settlement. We'll be heading right over there shortly, but real quick I want to show you some things. Now, people have criticized Dark Souls 2 for its inconsistent world building, like geographically and all that. Admittedly, just about everything we can see from here, we can explore. The Undead Settlement's right over there, that kind of forested glade beneath us, walled off with the 3 towers. We're gonna go there. The giant cathedral, we're gonna go there. Do you see that, like, fortress off in the mountains? We're gonna go there. Whatever the hell that is off in the distance, I don't know. We might end up over there if that's a certain area I'm thinking of. It's really cool to be able to see the whole game world laid out before you like this, I will say. Major credit where it's due. So we're gonna go ahead and raise this banner, and what should greet us to carry us into Dark Souls 3's next area? Well, of course, friends. Wait for it. It's Dark Souls 1 again! Yes, the Batwing demons that carried us to and from Anor Londo, they're back. Just for this part of the game. Never show up or do anything anywhere else just because, hey, you know, you got carried to a castle in Dark Souls 1, might as well get carried from one in Dark Souls 3. Whatevs. NMC says not a bird. Unfortunately, no. I don't know that we travel by bird in this game. Pretty seamless transition, though, right? I will say I appreciate that. So welcome, one and all, to the Undead Settlement, an area I really like. It's absolutely phenomenal. We're going to do a whole lot of things here, meet a lot of NPCs, fight a very interesting boss. Good stuff to be found here. Like some souls. So notice here, too, we've got a bunch of destitute hollows pleading for entry to the settlement. And what do the hollow villagers do? Why, sick dogs on them, of course. Because this is Dark Souls and everybody's horrible. Notice our katana strikes even are much faster than they were in Dark Souls 2. I appreciate that. Everything's a little faster. It's not Bloodborne levels of madcap-like kinetic action. Feels just a little bit slower and more deliberate, and I don't know about you, but for me at least, that feels like a good thing for this type of game. This is a very nice pace. So on past the carriages, we can meet our first NPC of the area, and a very important one, right past that arch. Alluring skulls, used to lure enemies, as ever. Notice a mass of, like, Londor pilgrims lying dead here. Except one.
Please, grant me death. Undo my shackles. Oh, then it's true. A champion of Ash, as I live and breathe. To be in your presence is a great honor. I am Njol of Londo, a pilgrim, as you can see, only
This is one of my favorite
Somehow,
NPCs in the
I
series.
failed to die as was ordained. Well, perhaps my calling lies elsewhere. Say, Champion of Ash, how does the idea of taking me into your service strike you? I was once a sorcerer. Surely I can be of use.
So Yol, as you can tell, is hollowed, severely so. And he comes from a country that seeks to... If I get this right, it's been so long, but Londor, a very cool country aesthetically and narratively, is a country founded by and for the undead, so the Hollows, those who have begun this withering process. And they're trying to, like, restore some kind of sovereignty or agency over the, over sort of humanity and the soul, and want, ideally, the same thing that Darkstalker Koth wanted in the first game. A world in an age of darkness where immortality, where undeath even, wasn't a bad thing, and wasn't ultimately fated to end in complete and total hollowing of the soul. Not of the body, the soul. Because as long as whatever's in there, as in the case with Yol, is sentient and capable of expressing and feeling, then even if the body withers, whatever's left behind is a desirable thing to be. MC says he looks like a giant. Yeah, he does, kind of, with like the orifice around the face. It's just the way his robes are wrapped, but never noticed that before. That is really cool.
I am...
And of course we want Yol's help.
Truly.
He acts as a merchant
I should be dead.
and a vendor of very
You
basic
have granted me
sorceries.
Purpose anew.
He also does one other very
the
special
Earl of
thing.
Londor, do solemnly swear myself to you.
Take care, y'all. Another, I guess they're calling them wyverns. It's not like a real dragon, but basically a dragon, I guess, destroyed the bridge. We got some homeward bones, nice. We are rounding out our usual repertoire of Dark Souls tools, ain't we? And just look at this place, man. The flocks of crows overhead, the ramshackle aesthetics of the towers and the building. Like, MC, I'm sure you can kind of tell where this is going. We've not hit the hardcore fan service yet, short of like Andre showing up again, because... But aside from the copious fan service and general refusal to acknowledge Dark Souls 2 was ever a thing, this game looks and feels absolutely gorgeous. Like, there's a lot to like here. And notice the deranged villager wielding a cleaver that looks a lot like the saw cleaver from Bloodborne. Again, this is fan service done right. And we get yet another bonfire right over here. Because, you know, why not? And since this is a new area, we have a new tab in our travel book, indicated by, like, gibbets hanging from trees, which is, MC says, as I said, a best of for all the games. Yeah, and when it does go original, like with the boss design, it's really cool, isn't it? It makes you wish there was a bit more purely or largely original stuff. This is my pick probably for the best fan service in the game, though, because it takes a lot of Bloodborne stuff, like from Yharnam and Hemwick and all that, and makes it feel very much at home in Dark Souls, iterates upon it in a way to where it doesn't feel like just depiction of those things, but rather, hey, it's a spooky kind of harvest, stereotypical Halloween-esque stage. MC says everything's distinct and nice, but somehow reminiscent of our journey. Sure, yeah. And we got worker trousers, which cannot be better than our armor, right? Yeah, it's not. Which is a real shame, because their armor, as like the quote-unquote peasant armor in these games tends to go, is not bad. We can also, like, chop down a lot of these hanging bodies, which will be useful later on. Some of them got loot, like so. A small leather shield. Well, that's nice, but not really something we need. We can also find another covenant in here. Just laying around, for the record. There's no Covenant Master or anything. This is a hollow thrall, so like a prisoner who's gone hollow, and attacks with everything from, I think, blow darts to little hatchets to Some of them wield different weapons later on. Despite their small size, they deal absurd amounts of damage if they manage to get their combos off, so don't let them get their combos off. Got a bunch of bodies shoved into cages. We've got people with trees growing out of them. We saw some people growing out of trees in the high wall. But notice, this is the area I was talking about that's reminiscent of the square in central Yharnam. We've got a whole bunch of these people paying homage to this burning tree of hanged bodies. And there's a much larger, like, elite enemy leading them all. That's one of the evangelists. We'll get into her deal a bit later. But suffice to say, she's a representative of a very powerful and very malicious being. Got some repair powder, that's nice. Durability isn't quite so big a deal in Dark Souls 3 as it was in 2. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but it just is. Charcoal pine bundles. Notice, this cage of bodies seems to be not only illuminated, but maybe a slightly different shade, a color than that one. And that's because this one might be alive. Is it? No, it's not. Some of these are alive and active and will spring to action as you get close to, like, thrash out at you. Mainly just for scare value. It's not terribly dangerous as enemies go. Look at all that blood. Jesus. We got the Thrall Axe, their little hatchet. Small hand axe used by Lothric slaves. A cunning weapon for a cunning lot. This axe is quick and deadly. We've got more charcoal pine. This should hint that this area's enemies and boss are kind of weak to fire damage, which they are. Jesus! Oh, I'm sorry. I also said there was one covenant we could find here. That's not true. There's two, including a kind of sort of secret covenant that's hard to access, but we will do as part of a couple NPC's quest lines. So clearly, much like Yharnam, things ain't all hunky-dory here. And we found... oh, no. So you remember Loretta was the woman that Greyrot asked us to give the Tearstone ring to, and we just, we found what the villagers left of her. Old discolored bone with several holes bored into it. A woman's corpse in the undead settlement was found clutching this bone. Her name was Loretta. Yeah. So we got some bad news to deliver, but first let's get just a little bit of the old retribution for Greyrot and his intimate, shall we? Thankfully, they're all caught up in their worship and aren't terribly aware. The Evangelist is the one we're gonna have to watch out for. She is strong and knows some special sorceries that are affiliated with her faction. Oh, she put the hat on. She is throwing or launching magical swarms of insects at us. She's actually much stronger in melee combat with that massive mace. And the book. She can, like, smack you with the book when you're in range. MC says, not the bees! If only they were bees. I think these are actually, like, carrion flies. God, look at her. Oh, she's got a grab attack. Here it comes. Oh my god. Oh, she also inflicts bleed, by the by. Well, we managed that better than I would have expected. Got a firebomb. What's at the base of the tree? Another Estus shard. Righteous. Oh, and look, a corpse hanging from the tree is an item for us. We'll need to get that down, maybe using our longbow. Oh, you... cheeky little monster. Alright. Fine. I can play it your way. An Ember, very good. I think you automatically Ember up when you kill bosses as well. More pants. They ain't gonna give us the full set, but we will have all the pants we can carry. What enemy did we have that luck with in one of the other playthroughs? Was it one of the, was it the Silver Knights or something? We just kept getting pants and pants and pants, or the Royal Swordsman? Let's go ahead and grab up that longbow. See if I can still do this. There we are. Now let's unequip that, because it makes us just a little bit heavier, which is not what we want. Oh, 9 kukris. These are throwing knives that cause, like, bleed damage. I think they had lacerating throwing knives in Dark Souls 2, but you know, it was Dark Souls 2, so we couldn't keep that around. A slightly more powerful, like, static soul, that's good. I really like that even these guys have different models with different weaponry and styles of the same armor. It's really cool that they added that little bit of aesthetic variety, and in some cases practical variety when it comes to, say, weapons. Do wish we had a greater chance of enemies dropping items, though. What's our luck looking like? 9, yeah, so slightly below the baseline for most characters. That'd explain it. This little cottage is going to be really important. In fact, right now, we're going to head on in and loot it. There's one of the... Oh, we dropped right on down into the kitchen, where a special feature we can only see a couple places in the game can be found. Esta soup. We can drink it once from the kettle per rest to get a quick little heal off. But also, there's something else here. It's a patch. A patch of the Warriors of Sunlight. Our second covenant, just laying on a table. An ancient talisman depicting a holy symbol bestowed upon the Warriors of Sunlight, equipped to pledge oneself to the Warrior Sunlight Covenant. Warriors of Sunlight are brilliantly beaming cooperators who place their golden signatures to help those in need, for it's their duty to deliver a great conquest to their summoner. I think it's really cool that in the lore, the, like, silly little sketch that Solaire decided to emblazon his armor with, just as a symbol of his own personal quest to help people, actually ended up becoming a revered holy symbol in its own right, and acquiring genuine magic power because of how strongly people believed in it, like he did. That's really cool, and it's what he deserved. MC says, blame the sun. If by the sun you mean like the light of Lord Gwyn, then yeah, we're going to be doing a whole lot of that, because as we will find out later on in this game, I actually critically undersold how big of a villain Lord Gwyn is in this overall story. I even said, like, because it's how I understood the lore I remembered at the time, at the least, he was a complicated but, like, caring leader and tried to do what was right by some of his kids. Turns out, no, he didn't even do that. And we'll see how far he was willing to go to preserve his name in the second DLC of this game, which is like the final piece of Dark Souls content produced for the trilogy. Okay, we're going to need something that doesn't do slash damage to chop down these cages. The battle axe will do just great. Even more charcoal pine resin. They really want you to get some fire on that weapon, don't they? I think there should be a red-eyed villager coming our way. Yeah. Here he comes. Along with a pair of thralls. That's just nasty. He's slightly stronger than the regular villagers, but not absurdly so, like, say, the Lothric knight with the red eyes was. See? Not too terribly bad. Now, where are those hollows? MC says, just learned of a sad story. Oh no, what's going on? A lady had $45,000 worth of savings and retirement funds, and scammers took every single penny of it. Man, that's awful. And happens way too often in today's world, to be honest. Oh, that's big axe time. See, they do next to no damage, thankfully. As he says, and with the help of someone I know, she recovered about $100 of it. Well, first off, kudos to your friend for helping out. And it's great that they were able to recover anything at all, honestly, no matter, you know, how little. Just another soul out around here. There's lots of hidden paths all around the undead settlement. Speaking of, if y'all remember, up at the top of this area, there was like a little side path off of the plaza where they were holding the religious ceremony. And we're gonna go check that out right now. Well, there's two of these side paths, I should say. This is number one. Oh, this is where the thralls drop down on us from. I see. I love how gloriously ramshackle the place looks. Not like it's falling apart, but like this is how they built it. Just so kind of roughshod and unsteady. It's got this own unique beauty to it, I think. Got a guy in the back with fire bombs, look out for those. And there should be a thrall hiding in wait in here. Well, in addition to a couple of these guys. We can actually get that pitchfork to use as a weapon. For the length it has, it's not bad, if I recall. I mean, not great, of course, but not bad. Secret path, we'll come back to you. Yet another soul. And check it out, it's a thrall with a greatsword. And these guys can mess you up if you let them. They also have way more health than you would expect, based on other thralls. Well, I can two-hand a weapon too, sir. How do you like that? We have the Caduceus round shield. It's a small shield that the Pyromancer starts with, I think. You know, a little, like, wooden Parma. Standard round wooden shield. It is decorated with twin snakes, an ancient symbol of the Great Swamp. Yep. We don't need that, though, because we've got a really good metal shield here. Oh! Ouch. Hello, Thrall. So there is an optional bonfire down there that we'll be getting later. Notice we've got, like, on the lower levels, looks like some big guys with giant cleavers or pots, an evangelist walking around, peasants with hammers. Not a lot of pleasant stuff awaiting us. And man, you don't know the half just yet. Right now we're gonna take this optional path. Absolutely. Oh my god, they actually killed me. Thralls actually killed me. Well, okay, that's a pretty big ambush of them that I didn't remember at all, so fair play, fair play. Alright, so, let's ember up. Gotta get that, health, right? thankfully, these guys... Oh my god, I'm just eating blows left, right, and center. These guys are sufficiently slow on their feet that we can kind of just blaze through a lot of the village up to the place where we died. Like so. And just cheese it. Run, 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 run. Oh, one more followed us from the procession? That's unusual, but okay. He didn't come from inside the barn, did he? Alright, let's go get our souls back and hopefully grab that other covenant I was talking about. I think we can reach it from somewhere around here. Ah, you were on the wall. On the wall. Their blow darts, as you can tell, actually deal a fair amount of damage for what they are, unlike the toxic blow gunners projectiles from Dark Souls 1. Of course, those also inflicted the god-awful toxic status, and that was just a fading soul, something designed to lure us out into the open for that trap, and it worked. Hate to admit it, but it did. Oh, did y'all see that? Dude was trying to, like, back up and create some distance between me and him and just ended up flying straight off the world. Crashing through a fence. That was great. Oh, we get a couple homeward bones. And might want to explore whatever's down here before we... Oh no, we can work our way around. The plank shield that the depraved use, or the deprived use, also found in Bloodborne. And what the... MC says mistakes were made. I love that, though. That's the kind of thing I would clip, were I watching somebody else. Makeshift shield cobbled together from wooden planks provides minimal protection at the cost of moderate humiliation. Did something else just die? Oh, alright, fine. So this is a unique NPC. This cage, again, they'd be enemies anywhere else we can talk to.
Another Nana disappeared. So Granton carries a cage. He ever has his cage. And Nana's never coming back. So come into the cage and become Nana's shade. Another Nana.
So he just told us how to access this covenant, believe it or not. Dark Souls has some pretty, like, obscure hints scattered throughout the series, but that's probably one of the most esoteric. And if you didn't know what you were doing ahead of time, like I do in this case, you'd have no earthly idea what the hell's going on. Like, what do any of those instructions even mean, right? We go around here, and remember, they say something to the effect of one of them carries an empty cage. Well, this guy's an enemy. We fight loads of creatures just like this elsewhere in this exact area, like with the big great machetes, but this one alone is non-hostile. And we can interact with them to take a little ride. A ride in the cage. Oh, the flame stone plate ring boosts fire resistance, right? Yeah, stone plates are symbols of true knights, and red stone plates are granted to those who valiantly face chaos, as in, you know, the chaos of Old Izalith. It's nice. So, let's play Grandma and get into the cage. Whatever that means. And get ready to be introduced to the one covenant presented in the main Dark Souls 3 game that attempted to introduce a new mechanic that wasn't seen elsewhere in the series, and by elsewhere in the series, I mean in Dark Souls 1's covenants. And it's to be fair, it's an interesting idea, I just don't think it's quite as cool as, say, the Way of Champions, or the Path of Champions, or the Rat King. either making the game harder or giving you substantial control over a small area as a boss. MC says crypt transport. Oh yeah, like Nito's. Exactly like Nito's. And we're brought to this great shrine deep underground. It's an absolutely gorgeous area. And if we do not get this covenant, or this covenant's item, prior to completing this area and killing its boss, we will lose access to it for the entire playthrough. MC says, oh look, a Dark Souls 2 reminiscent locale. Not really. Like, this is part of a greater area, and when we see that part of the area, you'll probably understand something kind of different's going on here. So this guy is the Holy Knight Hodrick. He's the closest thing to a Covenant Master this one has.
Well, what's up? This pit is for hollows, not for the likes of you sane folk. Or perhaps you are a hollow, posing as otherwise? Yes, then we are just fine. It's important to know who you are, but we'll all be mad soon.
Notice he's using what I think is Lucatiel's shield from the second game.
Well, all the more so. Beware, you might need this. Etch it on your heart if you feel your sanity slipping.
And now we have his Covenant item, the Mound Maker Covenant.
Come here to pile up your victims, for that will form your anchor. You'll see when you go mad. They'll be your family. You'll go mad one day, but not today. Take my advice. Use this bone and leave this place.
Yep, you can't get out of here save by use of a homeward bone.
Man fond of piling up victims. You've better things to do, I'd hope.
Down here we can get the War God wooden shield that, again, this is actually a Dark Souls 2 callback. This was the Lion Tribe shield, remember? Wooden shield reinforced with metal, the largest of the wooden medium shields. The bizarre pattern featured on the shield is the mark of a mad god, revered as a god of war in remote regions. Yeah, it's the Lion Tribe's shield, which is kind of cool, I guess. Not sure why we'd find it here, but hey. MC says, I am mad at you. So Hodrick is an NPC we would not interact with at all unless we came here at this exact time. And his covenant does something kind of special. A malformed vertebra found by the mad, with a symbol on its inside, proof of the shackles of the gods, equipped to pledge oneself to the Moundmaker Covenant. The Moundmakers wish only to add to their mounds, becoming mad spirits, whether summoned as cooperators or invaders. They're blithe to those around them, for in their minds, any kill might lead to another shackle, which can be offered here to advance the Covenant, of course. And the way the Moundmakers work is they allow you to be summoned into a world as a purple phantom. These purple phantoms are rewarded, I believe they're called bone shackles, for every other human player they kill. It does not matter if that is the host who summoned them in, a phantom like a warrior of sunlight or a cooperator they have trying to help them, or another player who has invaded them. So long as they off some kind of human character, I believe, or a character controlled by a human being, they will receive a vertebral shackle. The concept here is that it's supposed to add a certain element of unpredictability to the summoning system, right? You don't know what you're going to get when you call in a mound maker, so you may want, say, to call them in if you've been invaded or you're up against really significant odds, and maybe they'll help you, or maybe they won't. But I don't know, it feels a little underdeveloped, and again, when I compare it to the changes or the introductions of things like the Rat King and the Way of the Champions in Dark Souls 2, it just feels like a way to iterate upon an already existing very fundamental, like very simple in PvP system, and it doesn't feel like it belongs here as much as, say, a successor to the Rat King would, or a successor to the Path of the Champions would. I could be wrong. The Path of the Champions might be in here somewhere, but I don't think so. We made loads of progress, though, haven't we? Let me go ahead and get our good shield back on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're probably going to have to call it for today, as, I have quite a bit of work to do this evening, and we've been going for over 3 hours. But I am super thrilled to continue this series with you guys. We should be live actually pretty early tomorrow. I have a class meeting remotely, of course, so it means me sat in front of my computer for 2 to 3 hours. From like 2:40 to 5:40 in the afternoon, so basically our normal streaming time. So, I'm curious to know, would you prefer the stream be earlier or later? I could do like 11 to 2 or 11:30 to 2:30. I could do 6 to 9 like we used to. Whatever you guys would like. Let me know. Until then, thank you all so much for joining me for this first Dark Souls 3 stream. I'm really enjoying getting back into this game. It's got a beautiful world and lots for us to explore and compare and contrast. We are almost through the entirety of the Soulsborne or FromSoft like action RPG catalog available on current-gen consoles. After this, we will tackle Sekiro, and then, before too terribly long, it should be time for the PS5 and the Demon's Soul remake to come out. But until then, thank you all so much. Whether you were catching us live on Twitch or after the fact as VOD on YouTube, I really appreciate you guys being here and interacting with us in some way, shape, or form. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye!